There we go. We are back. We are live. And it's Sunday. So that means three things from four guys: faith, strength, and courage. Warrior mode. And I am pleased to tell everyone that the Foursmen are back together. Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior, has returned from his road trip. Balance has been resumed in the Warrior Mode studio. And I'm looking forward, very much looking forward to today's show. So I'm going to change it up this week. Travis, how you doing, man? We'll work our way to the Strowman next, and then we'll jump back to the man himself. How's that sound? See,
it's like a Rubik's cube. I like this new setup.
Yeah, I don't want people. We need to shift things up now and again. Keep people on their toes.
Although I'm really disappointed that during the pandemic, we never really got to do like the Hollywood Squares, the paranormal Hollywood Squares with Zoom, where we had, all nine guests, Bill as the center square. We still could do that. That could be kind of fun. No, good here, been a good week. This week it was busy. We've been again very successful with my radio stations, but I got to check something off of my bucket list this week. Oh. I was able to see Jimmy Buffett live in concert at Big Bend in Cincinnati, Ohio. So that is a big check off of my bucket list. I had a great time. About 30,000 people in attendance.
Jeez.
This thing was massive. The huge turnout. I, straight up to Cincinnati, it was about a 2.5-hour concert, straight back to London, Kentucky, about 6 hours driving in the car round trip, but it was well worth it. It was a great experience. But I did learn two things at a Jimmy Buffett concert. Number one, I do not make nearly enough money to buy a T-shirt or get drunk there, because beer was $12 beer and T-shirts were $70, gentlemen.
Wow. T-shirts were $70?
Bill, we are definitely underselling Warrior Mode T-shirts.
You got that right. Wow.
Just a little bit. So
that's
yeah.
Whew. That's a grift. That's a grift.
That's a good job,
Warrior Mode now seems like we're a charity.
Yeah.
That
is insane. I guess it is Jimmy Buffett, the legend.
It is.
Now is there any relation of Warren Buffett, the billionaire philanthropist dude?
Warren is his uncle.
And there was me just cracking a joke thinking he was nothing to do with him. So he is.
Warren is Warren is his financial advisor.
Is he determined on world domination? Is he?
Well, I mean, you think he's got restaurants. He now has a retirement community, Margaritaville retirement community. So when you reach 65, you can retire and live in a Margaritaville community. He's got the hotel chains. He's got the T-shirts. He's got Land Shark beer. He's got his own tequila line. I mean, the man has branched out.
I bet you the retirement place is like Cocoon, right? When these billionaires get together in a retirement home, they come out as like adolescents again, don't they?
Exactly. Come back and just cycling. It's not a retirement community, it's a recycling center. You go in and they recycle.
Great movie, Cocoon. Great movie.
Yeah, great movie. You dug that one up out of nowhere, didn't you?
That's one of my favorites, Derek. I must admit, one of my favorites. How are you doing, brother? You're looking radiant as usual. You're ready to go.
I feel great. Thank you. Just glad to be back here with you guys. Really, to be honest with you, I didn't really do much this weekend. My wife, daughter, next door neighbor, the wife of Chris Ricketts, his wife Erin, and their daughter Carly Ricketts. They all went away. Went to like this park in Dutch something. I'm sorry, I didn't have that ready for everybody out there, but some like a little water park in PA. Started with the Dutch.
But when you said that, Derek, I thought we were getting into some personal missing 411 stuff. They just kind of went away in a park and
yeah. Sorry. Well, no, I did know where they were going, and it was like planned out. They knew they were going to do it. It was scheduled weeks in advance, and they had a great time. Of course, today is my daughter's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. She turned 6 today, and believe me, she's just been having a blast, hanging out with everybody. Before we started this show, I was next door. We blew out she blew out the candles. We had a cake for her, couple little gifts. She had a good time. She's just living her best life right now, having a blast. And to her, she's 6 turning 16. You know how it goes. She's just super smart. She's documenting everything. I have no idea what my daughter's going to be when she gets older, because she can take a turn in any direction and be successful. She's just that smart. I'm very proud of her. So, I'm thankful that I'm here with you guys, and I'm thankful that my daughter is just the happiest, beautifulest little girl on the planet. And I'm just looking forward to the show. And I guess we don't have a guest tonight, so we're all just gonna do our Forsman, mull over and chop it up back and forth and see what we can spruce up tonight. Hey, and chat room out there, hey, we're looking forward to what you guys have to offer this evening.
Bill Bean, back from the road. Good to have you back, brother. How have you been?
I'm good. It's been a busy week. It certainly missed being with you guys on the show last week, and missed everybody. And thank you, everybody, for your kind messages. And it was something that I had to do. It was something that, and I thank my dear friend Mara Geist and her husband John. And I saw our good buddy Mike Supa. Had breakfast with him before I got started, but I saw a dozen people up there, nearly a dozen. And God worked through me to help them, and I praise God for it. It wasn't easy. I left at I think 2 a.m. in the morning, Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and drove there to New York and had breakfast with Mike Supa, and then went right into Mara's office, and the people were coming in the 2s and the 3s at a time, and it was an all-day affair. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that God guided me up there. There were all of those people were in great need of prayer and assistance, and whether it was spiritual deliverance or prayer for their grief, their depression, or life-threatening illnesses that some of the people came to me for, to where we took it to God and asked God to bless them with healing miracles. So it was a variety of ailments that the people had, and I praise God for working through me to have been a help to them. And I very much look forward to being up there again. And we discussed off air. I wanted to start my new series called Purge, which I'm actually writing the book now called It's Time for a Purge. And this is going to be a very powerful presentation, but more than a presentation, it's going, so the people that are coming for this and to this, you are going to be coming to purge all of the garbage that you have been dealing with and for however many years. It could be childhood, it could be something recent, whatever it may be. God's going to work through me to purge it. So I'm very excited about that. And we're going to have to just scale it back a little bit and be a little cautious because of this Delta variant of coronavirus that is starting to pop up again around the country, and the numbers are starting to come back up again. So I'm going to be very cautious about this. I certainly don't want to put anybody at risk, but I am excited just the same. And it's something that we'll be talking more and more about in the coming weeks. But before we go any further, let me say a prayer here and set the show off on the right foot and the right tone, and then we'll go from there. And Father, I thank you, praise you for this blessed and appointed time. And I ask that you work through us to be a blessing to everybody that is being a part of this right now, tuning in. And I also ask that you speak through us to speak truth to everyone and to be a blessing to them in any and every way. And I ask that you keep everybody in your hedge of protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for life. And I ask that you bless everyone with an abundance of love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity for life. Glory to you, Father, forevermore, in Jesus' name. All right, Kev.
Amen.
Awesome.
We are ready now.
Listen, you sent me a story, a couple of videos yesterday. We're going to start there. I'm going to play a quick video here, and then we'll get the guys to discuss what's going on. So Sit back, folks, and take a listen to this.
I'm Chris Van Cleve in Washington, D.C. D.C. police are now investigating a shooting that wounded 4 people outside of the Washington Nationals ballpark. It was just before the start of the 7th inning. I was inside the stadium on the first base side when we heard a series of bang, 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 back to back. The fan next to me thought they might be fireworks. Instead, it was a shooting that happened outside the ballpark on the far side, along the third base side. Fans began to run by the hundreds for the center field gate, rushing to get out of the stadium. That caused a panic inside the ballpark as people were trying to figure out what was going on, why people were running for the exits. A fan in our section said, "There's a shooter in the ballpark. There's a shooter in the ballpark." People took cover, hiding between the rows of seats. I couldn't help but think those are plastic seats. I don't know that they were going to offer a lot of protection. It felt like about 5 very tense minutes with people unsure what to do. Should they run for an exit? Should they stay in place? What was happening? The Nats PA announcer came over and calmly announced there'd been an incident outside of the stadium, urging people to stay inside the ballpark. He made several such announcements over the next 5 or 10 minutes before fans were told to exit through the center or right field fences. The game has been suspended. DC police are investigating the shooting. But for many Nats fans, it was very, very scary. I saw parents holding their small children close, rushing for the exits. A fan in the row behind me broke down in tears. She said it was one of the scariest things she's ever experienced. She really believed there was a shooter inside the ballpark. That was not the case, but a scary night for many. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Washington.
Okay, so talk to me, Bill. What's happening?
Well, that was last night. That took place last night. Now, the night before that, if I'm not mistaken, a 6-year-old child and some of her family members, the child was shot to death, and other family members were wounded in D.C. as well. And then the week before that, in Colorado, where the All-Star game, the Major League Baseball All-Star game was being held, apparently the story is that 3 men were detained and taken into custody that had an arsenal of weapons that supposedly they planned on going to a perch and firing into the ballpark during the All-Star game. So for me, again, I wasn't there. I have seen up-team clips on this. I find it very suspect that, because I could tell you this, having attended sporting events in Washington and in Baltimore, there is a massive police presence, always. And how is it that at this moment, right in front of the ballpark, this shooting breaks out? Where's the police at? Where's the security? How is this possible? And the panic of those people, you know, the PA address announcers coming on saying, "Be calm, stay in your seat." So that's easy to say. But when you're hearing gunfire, those people are fishing a barrel. It reminds me of the Las Vegas thing all over again. Those people were fishing a barrel there, and the people in that ballpark, you know, had there been a shooter that actually came in, we're fishing a barrel. If you're staying stationary in your seat, you are a target. So a lot of those people got up, they ran. A lot of them also, who were close to the field, jumped over the barrier and on both sides ran into the dugouts. And the players, some of the players, actually helped those people into the dugouts and provided them with shelter while this was going on. And my heart goes out to the people that had their small children with them, you know, at what they thought would be a joyous, you know, occasion where they're rooting for the Nationals or the Padres, whatever it may be, and then it turns into something like that. So I watched a press conference as well where the chief of police spoke, the deputy mayor, and the head of security for the Washington Nationals. And the deputy mayor, and that's the police chief there, and the head of security for the Nationals in the background. But the deputy mayor, I found it laughable because he comes on there and he's saying, "Oh, it was an isolated incident." Now, I'm telling you this right now. This is the first time in my life, and I don't follow sports anymore, but I used to. I was a very rabid sports fan. I don't ever recall any shooter or any type of shooting taking place right out in front of the facility. I don't ever recall anything like that. So the deputy mayor is saying it's safe. It was a random act. Come back tomorrow night. You'll be safe. Everything will be great. We're going to finish that game, and then you'll see the other game. Everything is wonderful and beautiful. And I'm thinking to myself, these people, they can't really believe this guy. I mean, I know he's got a job to do, and I know that with something like this, the attendance and therefore the revenue would just completely drop out. I mean, who wants to put themselves in mortal danger to attend a sporting event? But some of the things that he was saying, I was just shaking my head, and I thought to myself, wow, it's just boggles the mind that he would think that most people would buy that and go along with that narrative. So it's very disturbing to me, very troubling. It's certainly indicative of the times that we're in right now, to where nothing seems to be safe and secure. And I hate to be that way or say those things, but I'm just telling it like it is. We must be very, very careful, especially if you're going out in groups of people. Be very, very careful. Pay attention to your surroundings, because we live in a world now where things can go sideways very, very quickly. There are, unfortunately, some bad people out there with bad intentions, and I just hate to see innocent people victimized. So, guys, go ahead from there.
What do you make of it then, Travis? I mean, I didn't even know this has happened, so I'll let you guys discuss this one.
Well, I wasn't aware of this one, and I was jotting down. I've got a lot of notes that I was making while Bill was giving this rundown. I think there's two ways I think that we can look at shootings that are happening, and because I was just on the phone with my parents this afternoon, and I had heard last night that there had been an officer involved shooting back in Virginia, where I'm from, and the instance there was a 16-year-old male and a 13-year-old female. They were apparently running away together. There'd been a missing adolescent report that had been filed, so the police stumbled upon them, found them. When they did, the 16-year-old boy stabbed the police officer multiple times before the cop was able to draw his gun and actually shoot and kill the 16-year-old. We've had multiple shootings here in Southeast Kentucky in the past little bit. I think there's a couple of things that we have to look at when we start talking about these shootings. Number one, and I know people are I'm probably going to get crucified in the chat again, so I'm even going to look at it after I make these comments. Okay, if you monitor that for me, and I won't even look at it. I'm a huge proponent of Second Amendment rights in the U.S. I really am. One of the things you have to look at, Bill, and I think you said growing up you don't think you'd ever heard of this before. Well, we've got more people getting their license to carry. We have more open carry laws. I mean, Kentucky is an open carry. You don't have to have a concealed carry permit. You can carry it as long as it's visible. So it is a lot like the Wild West anymore. People have their guns on their hips, and they're more readily accessible. I was traveling back to Eastern Kentucky a couple of weeks ago. I left my house. I was driving east on US 80 to Prestonsburg. I got about 10 miles into the drive, and there was a standstill. I saw the police. I saw the EMS. I thought there'd been a car accident. I waited for a little while. I had Cash with me. He doesn't like the car to stop, so I decided to go ahead and turn around. So I ended up driving west to take 461 north to 150 east to I-75 south to pick up 80 east again. I'd lost about an hour and a half.
Wow.
What had happened was apparently road rage incident. Two guys passing, cut somebody off, the cars pulled over. They both pulled guns, and it became a Wild West scenario. They just started gunning it out and shooting each other. One of them ended up dead. So I think we have more guns that are being carried. Publicly. I also think you have to take into account what I call the COVIDiot aspect. We're coming out of a pandemic. People have been locked up in their houses. You talk about cabin fever, you talk about going stir crazy, you let those people back out into the general public, into the general population, a lot of things are going to happen. So I think, again, it's a tragedy that it took place and that it happened. Do I think there is a grand conspiracy? I'm not going to say that I'm going to buy into that. I do believe that there is more rational explanations of why we're seeing this, and that's my input. Those are the thoughts that I jotted down while you were talking about it.
Yeah, and the narrative on it is that they're saying that they think it was a drug deal gone bad, that these were some bad people that were, again, now it really doesn't make sense to me, because in knowing Nationals Park and places like that, and Baltimore's Camden Yards and all these types of places, there's a heavy police security. So how are you going to be doing a drug deal right down there where you have a heavy police presence? So I don't know, it just doesn't sound right to me. Derek, go ahead.
Well, first off, I agree with everything Travis said. I got a little something to add to that. Now, I look at things in a manner where eventually something's going to happen. So I evaluate things over a period of time. A lot of you out there who aren't Maryland residents or in the DMV area, Washington, D.C. is not a very great town as far as crime goes. It's high crime. Right. Yeah, it's got a really, really high crime rate. So if I was doing my evaluation, I would say, well, hey, it's been a while since something happened. Listen, it's inevitable. Something eventually is going to happen. Now, I said that, right? Now, moving on to my next statement about Washington, D.C. and that new National Stadium area. It's not like Camden Yards. Camden Yards is downtown Baltimore, where there is it has to be a lot of police presence because it's downtown Baltimore.
Horrible crime, high crime. Right.
National Stadium is a little bit outskirts where you could set up a rendezvous to do your wheeling and dealing because it's outskirts of the city. So these guys look for heavily populated areas to do what they have to do to be inconspicuous a lot of times. So eventually something's going to happen. It's sad. It is. It really is sad. And hopefully there's no real injuries or no major fatalities that was involved in that. I'm not sure if it was. If so, forgive me because I missed that part. But we just have to contain these things. And like Travis said, you've been hunkered away for a while. These guys are coming out. All the talk about police defunding and all this. So people are trying their hands out there. The criminals are going to eventually start trying their hands to see what they can get away with. And why wouldn't they?
That's a good point, because again, you're talking liberal cities that Baltimore City and Washington D.C., where Derek's exactly right. There's this rhetoric about defund the police and all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? That's putting ideas into the criminal's mind that, hey, they might be scaling back on some police presence here and all that. So maybe I can make my move to do whatever. So that's a very good point.
Yeah, and it was just something to just add into the conversation because, as you gentlemen know, I'm a realist. This is day to day. This is life. Crime happens. That's why you need police. That's why I have these issues with the police are there to protect the normal citizens against the bad guys, the crime and the violence.
But Derek, why couldn't they just send social workers in there to take care of that?
You can't do that. Ask those over in the UK. They don't have guns. They're using battalions and things of that nature. So the criminals are fighting back with more weaponry than the police officers.
Yeah,
so,
it's sad because the criminals will always get their hands on guns and weapons. They just will.
At least here in the United States, that hasn't happened. These guys still have the ability to defend themselves and the citizens that are around them. You know what I mean? So it's pretty tricky. You know, we knew we were going to go through this phase. Okay, we knew that this was going to happen. Those guys watch the news just like we do. They're sitting back and they're watching TV and they're like, oh yeah, okay. All right, so it looks like the tide is shifting here a little bit. They're giving me a little bit more flexibility to go out there and do my bad guy stuff. You know what I mean? So they know it, you know, and the cops are like, okay, thanks a lot, government. You guys are really helping us out here, you know, in our cause. But I also look at it like this. We actually need this to take place because it's a shift. Okay, it's a shift to say, okay, if I'm a police officer, that's going to last throughout this whole transitional phase, I'm going to say, all right, I'm not going to let these guys beat me. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to tie my hands behind my back, at least one of them, to make my job a little bit more difficult. But I'm going to show them that everything that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into, I'm going to prevail and show them that's why I did this. I wanted to be a police officer because I knew that I could do the job no matter what. I'm not those other guys that might be in it for some other alternative reason. I'm here to protect and serve, and that's what I'm going to do no matter what kind of restrictions they put against me. And that's what I see. I'm in DC all the time.
Yeah.
I don't see no real lacking in police presence. Those guys are still out there working their tails off, you know,
risking their lives every day.
And they're risking their lives, and they're doing a really good job. But I will say this, just to play devil's advocate here, okay? I will say this. It has put us in a position where, and put the police in a position where they are going to have to do things differently. If they did think for an inclination that they could get away with being a little bit more obsessive or you know, brutal in a case where maybe they should have taken the higher road and said, hey, look, I'm not going to do this, or be less aggressive in their apprehension. Well, that has played a part too. So you got to play both sides here a little bit. There needed to be some kind of acknowledgement, but at the same time, there has to be an even ground, because the police officer's not coming onto the scene, hopefully not, ladies and gentlemen, completely drunk and obliterated and high on drugs. But the person he's confronting is completely obliterated and high on drugs. There's a difference there. They have to deal with the situations according to what they have in front of them. So it's just, like I say, it's a balance here. And I think that's essentially what overall they were trying to do. I just didn't like the way they went about doing it. That's all.
Yeah, and it's Kev. You know, again, you deal with this situation over there in the UK, like they mentioned about not having the guns over there. Your officers, I guess, just have the sticks, the batons, right?
Nah, it's not. We've got cars, and no, I'm only joking. No, we've got armed cops as well. We've moved on from the horse and cart and things. No, we've got the armed cops now. But I was seeing Todd in the chat room, and he was talking about in Scotland we just got people fighting with teaspoons. And I often joke, if there's ever a revolution here, we'll have to do it with spoons and ladles. But and again, you've already touched on it, Bill. But I just wanted to I can't really talk about the American gun situation because I'm not in America. But I hear a lot about gun bans and stuff like that. And living in a country where there's a gun ban, hypothetically, I could make a phone call and I could have a gun in, I don't know, about an hour's time. And that's the thing, folks, because gun bans only creates victims, because it's innocent people that suffer when you ban the guns, because criminals, funnily enough, by definition, a criminal has no respect for the law. So when it comes to gun laws, funnily enough, they still go about shooting each other. And Glasgow,
they're always going to get them.
Yeah, like any city, there's gangs, there's shootings, and yeah. So when it comes to gun bans, and of course, listen, I'm not naive as well. It comes with responsibility. It's like any tool. You need to have a responsible gun carrying population. I've seen somebody in the chat room talking about open carry makes a polite society, and it does.
I saw that.
It does, yeah.
And if you look at the numbers, there is validity to that statement that where the places where people are carrying, those are the lower crime areas. The crime numbers are lowered.
I watched a video one time, and it was somebody who had gone into a church in America a couple of years ago, and they had gone in with a semi-automatic, and there was a congregation in there, and it would have been horrendous. I don't even want to know how many would have perished, but for the brave actions of somebody in the congregation who was carrying. And they stepped up. They done what needed doing, because listen, folks. I mean, it takes the cops time to get there, even if you were to phone them right off the bat. And I'm not, I support the police. They've got a hell of a job to do. But that one instance, that should be an example.
Saved a lot of lives.
They should play it in schools. I believe that was
in Texas, Kev.
Yeah, they should play it in schools. The NRA should be using that all the time. But that's why an armed population saves lives.
And let me say this. I love people. I don't want to have anything, any type of bad confrontations with people, and I certainly don't want to ever have to shoot anybody. Would never want that. But it's unfortunate that in some situations when your life depends on it and you're or someone else's life. I disarmed a gunman one time that had the gun to the back of the head of somebody. So, I mean, that person's life was in jeopardy. But you only have a split second, just like a police officer. They've only got a split second to make a decision when it comes down to life and death and what their action is going to be in regard to that. And so it's a very difficult thing, but I wish that none of us had to even think about having a firearm or something like that. But it's unfortunate that not just in this society, but throughout history, there are people who act out in these violent and homicidal ways, and people's lives are in jeopardy. So again, I find, and for anybody that would dispute what I'm saying, do the research for yourself with the numbers. But the numbers say that the most armed societies or areas or neighborhoods or states or whatever, the lower the crime rate is. So if the perpetrator knows that he's going into an area or neighborhood or whatever where there's a high probability that someone is armed, they're going to think twice before perpetrating that crime, because it's going to be like, okay, well, if I do this, I'm going to face something that could be life-threatening to me. So that becomes a deterrent.
Bill, over here, I mean, there are certain circumstances where you can have a gun, farming, for example. And over here, we've had a case where we've had burglars going into a home. The farmer, in one instance, taking shotgun and doing what needed to be done. And the farmer, he was the dude in the wrong. He was the one that
heard that.
Yeah, he was the one that got taken to court and things, So it's a different ball game over here. Ball game.
Well, here's something else to think about, and pardon the interruption. Think about this, and this is for everybody on the panel and anybody listening. How easy do you think it would be for you to kill someone, even if you had a registered weapon, right? That's probably not the easiest thing in the world to do, even if you had the authority to do it. Okay, then you take that thought process, right? What it would take for you to do that, given the situation where you felt like you might have to, Then you put yourself in an environment, a state like, or like Maryland, or a city like Baltimore, or a sovereignty like Washington, D.C., where people are murdered every day
in large numbers.
Every day in large numbers. Okay, so you're talking about almost a death a day, sometimes more in a single day, equaling more than the days of the month. I mean, like that's pretty crazy when you do the math there. Then place yourself out there as law enforcement and on the streets and having to patrol the neighborhoods with all these high crime rates. Now ask yourself, how are you going to deal with these situations when you're put into them? And obviously I'm asking a question that can't really be answered, because you're just like them, being human beings. They're dealing with them according to what's happening.
But Derek, your police look like stormtroopers now, man. They're going around with like bazookas and they've got like sniper units. Yeah.
I could tell you this, Kev. It's cities like Derek's saying, in Baltimore and Washington, D.C., St. Louis, Detroit. These are the worst crime cities in America. And the officers are militant looking, and they have to be, because they're literally fighting a war every day, fighting for their very survival. And now we have the trend in America to where police officers are getting ambushed. They're going on these calls, and then these bad guys are laying in wait, and they're shooting these police officers. So, man, they're really, really, I applaud them. I will continue to support them. Yes, I know there's bad apples. There's bad apples in anything and everything. I don't care what it is. But for the most part, our police officers, I applaud them. I support them. They are people that are risking their lives each and every day. And I know for myself and for my wife, I thank them very, very much for their service and their dedication to protect and serve on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
It's a thankless job, because now, every little thing that happens, the police officer is vilified. And again, look, are there bad apples? Of course there are. I wouldn't pretend to say that there aren't. We just had a story in Baltimore here. Derek can probably tell you this as well. We had a city police officer that apparently, allegedly, killed his 15-year-old stepson and then stuffed him inside of the wall in Baltimore, and the police just came and arrested him on that. Now, that's all I know. This is alleged that he had killed his stepson and then somehow hid him somehow inside of the wall. And other police agencies got wind of this, and they came to the home and took this officer into custody. So don't know the whole story, but that's what the narrative is as of now. And yes, there are some bad apples and unstable police officers, but there are far more good and solid and dedicated police officers out there who risk their lives on a daily basis to protect and serve the community than there are the loose cannons, the bad apples.
And real quick here, let me tell you guys a relevant situation here with my brother. My brother right now lives in Hinesville, Georgia, okay? I remember when he first became a police officer in Hinesville, all I ever heard from him was, Derek, man, this is great, man. It's not like Baltimore. He's from here as well, right? It's not like Baltimore, man. There's no crime. There's no real violence and stuff. It's just, I patrol the neighborhoods, and, I shoot basketball with the kids. And I've seen these images, him shooting basketball with the kids, and they put it all in the newspaper and all that, right? But recently, it's Derek. Hinesville's getting out of control. There's more shootings. There's more violence. There's more crime. He said, I'm about to. Boy, he's already done it. I've applied to be for the FBI. I'm doing good. I got a test coming up. He said to me, I would rather fight big, crime syndicates versus, worrying about if I'm going to make it home on these simple streets of Hinesville to make it home to my new nephew, Gabriel. Big shouts out to my nephew, Gabriel Stroman. He just had a son, his first son. My first nephew. You know, I'm an uncle.
Gabriel.
And now look how quickly it changes, though, Travis. It's like, I have a son. Where I live used to be great. It's getting worse here. But I don't want to give up protecting people and doing the right thing and everything, you know, that I, you know, devoted my life to. So I'm going to take it to the next step, you know, and I have the ability. So that's what he's doing. And I implore and I encourage him to do that. But all it is, it exemplifies our point of how quickly things change, how rough it gets out there. And you're hearing, these are voices from the men on the front line, men and women on the front line out there dealing with this. And you know, all they really wanted to do, and this is my brother, and I know my brother, I helped raise him, okay? He's my brother. He's not no dirty cop. He's not out there hurting people. You know, out of character, and he's not doing things above the law. I know this, and this is what he's saying. So think about that, you know.
You're muted up, Bill.
Thought I was unmuted. I'm sorry. I thought I unmuted myself. My heart goes out to the men and women that are out there serving like that. It's a thankless job. It's a super dangerous job. The job has become far more dangerous now than ever before with all these ambushes and things of that nature. And Derek makes a good point again that it's just not the cities like Baltimore and D.C., it's St. Louis and Detroit and other places like that. It is the smaller cities and towns that are starting to encounter this. An example that I could give you is Minneapolis, Minnesota. It used to be one of my favorite places to go to. Beautiful city, loved it. And the last time I was there, which I believe was right before COVID, I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe how it had changed, and not for the better. And so a place that I thought was, you know, wow, one of my favorite cities in America had suddenly changed. And I think that's the theme all across America now, I'm sorry to say, is that we see a decline in our cities and even our towns as well. Kev, it's very sad for me to sit here and say that, because just not too long ago, some of these places were real gems, you know, to visit, and I enjoyed going there, but not anymore. It's very sad. Travis, do you find that like in and around London, Kentucky, or outlying areas?
You're muted up, Trav. Derek, you've got some blowing over your audio. If you can mute up just till you go. That's it.
Is Travis still muted?
Sorry.
There we go.
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry.
Travis, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm situated right on I-75. So north of me, you have Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, and Cincinnati, Ohio. South of me, you have Knoxville, Tennessee. Ironically, we don't see a lot of crime, what you would call crime, or militarized police here. Now, I know in some of the larger metropolitan areas, you do see that. And I was listening to what Derek was saying, and I was actually chiming in, and I realized I had muted the phone up. You know, my mother's family, my uncles, cousins are all law enforcement. And they started out, you know, one of my uncles was the sheriff, one was the deputy sheriff, then he also became the criminal investigator. And then he went on, he started out as a military police officer during Vietnam. He then went on to work for the Department of Corrections as a prison guard. Then he trained prison guards. Then he became, the second assistant warden to a high-level maximum security penitentiary. Then he retired, and in retirement, you know what the man did in retirement? He became a U.S. Marshal. That's exactly how much law enforcement this, you know, what was in this man's blood. He retired from the state, became a U.S. Marshal. A lot of my cousins right now are Department of Corrections officers and at prisons up and down Virginia. I have a great deal of respect for the men and women who serve this country, both in the military and in law enforcement here protecting and serving. And I was, we were talking, and Derek was having his conversation, I'm sure we've talked about this. My house was broken into last year when the pandemic hit. I wasn't home, but they took all of my groceries. They left me a frozen pizza. God bless them for that one frozen pizza they got me through that week.
That's terrible.
All of my groceries, they took that. They cleaned out my pantry, my refrigerator, my freezer. They took my change jar and my cigar collection. That's what they got.
Not the cigars. Oh, cigars, anything else you can. Not the cigars.
That's what hurt the most. That's what hurt the most. But in the days following that, I looked at buying a gun for protection, because after that, every time I heard something in the middle of the night, I immediately I didn't sleep again for like several days because I kept thinking somebody was trying to break in the house. And that's happened once before. When Rachel and I were married, we had actually remodeled the master bedroom, and we were sleeping in our living room. And this would have been 2001, 2002, something like that. And I woke up in the middle of the night to her screaming, and there was a bright flashlight in my face. I ended up chasing these burglars out of the house and down the driveway. Thank God I do sleep in pajamas, or there could have been a whole totally different story when reported to law enforcement. But I also thought about buying a gun then. When we're talking about shootings, you're talking about gun ownership, and I do think Kev hit the nail on the head. It's responsibility.
Yeah.
And the problem is we have a society that is irresponsible. We're irresponsible with everything. Yep. We're irresponsible with knowledge. We're irresponsible with social media. We're irresponsible with anything that we're given. So I do think that responsibility does come into play. Going back to one of the things that you had mentioned, every industry attracts a personality and it breeds a personality. Broadcasting either attracts an ego or it creates an ego. And law enforcement oftentimes, and I know this is going to upset a lot of people that are listening, but this is true because as I just mentioned, my family is law enforcement. Law enforcement attracts a bully mentality, and it also creates a bully mentality. There is that side of the equation. So I do think you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful when we are talking about what law enforcement does, because not everyone who wears a badge is always a good guy. And that's all I'm going to say.
What do you think that is?
But there's bad apples and everything, Derek. It's just like
we could
go to the church and say, wow, there's upteen great pastors, but there are these bad apple pastors.
Well, Travis is talking about something different.
But look at the Stanford. But think of the Stanford prison experiment. That it's just human psychology. You put people in uniform and give them power, then it corrupts. People will do things that aren't in their norm. They wouldn't typically do that.
Absolutely. And I guess what I'm saying, people say law enforcement's racist. Law enforcement's not racist, but a law enforcement officer can be racist. And if he is racist and you put him in a uniform, then you've doubled the problem. You have the mentality that was already there, and now you've empowered him to act on it. And what I'm saying is, you look at, and every law enforcement officer has to take a psychological evaluation. Though those evaluations are cursory at best, I've seen some of them. Mm-hmm. I think we need to get deeper into that evaluation process. I think we need, I just, and again, this is, I know this one's going to be controversial in the chat room, which is why I've already closed my laptop and not even, because I know what people are saying. But I lived in DC. I worked with Radley Balco, who is a journalist, and he writes extensively. He has made a journalism career out of writing about the militarization of local law enforcement, and exactly what Derek and Bill were talking about. Do local sheriffs and local city police need bazookas and SWAT gear and tactical weaponry? Or are we seeing the government actually take local law enforcement and bring it under the auspices and the umbrella of the U.S. military for a much darker and more sinister event coming down the road? And I think we have to, there's checks and balances. I guess that's what I'm saying. Checks and balances when it comes to everything.
If you have all this equipment, this new equipment, your boss, whatever, and this is where the defunding comes in, right? You're not your boss, excuse me, but your precinct, all right, says, hey, we got this new equipment, man. It's a new battering ram. Wait till you see how this thing operates. It can make a door explode like you barely touched it. Don't you think these guys want to use that stuff? Oh, we got this new arsenal of this and that. Of course they don't want to be in a situation where they themselves could be harmed or they have to hurt someone, but that's what they're there for. So eventually they're going to want to use this new equipment, this new weaponry, this new technology. It's just like all of us. The new iPhone comes out, be like, oh, I want the new iPhone. There's nothing wrong with all of us, Derek. There's nothing wrong with your phone right now. Your phone works perfectly fine.
Some of us are still cavemen with little flip phones.
You get my point. But see, that's the difference, Bill. You're joking. You said that in a joking manner, right? But that's exactly the point. If it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? You know what I mean? It's fine. And that's what you're saying, Travis. You don't need it. But it's 2021. It's going to be 2022, and it's moving fast. All this new technology, hey, well, guess what? We want to use it, and we're waiting for the opportunity to use it. I wanted to say that. But real quick here, back to what Travis was saying about the attitude. Guys, no, come on, just be honest. You see a cop, you run up, walk up on a bunch of them. They have this attitude about them. They act a certain way. I don't know what that comes from. I don't know if it's a defense mechanism, if they just want to make sure that that you're not going to be able to persuade them or push them in any kind of way with whatever manipulative tactics you might try to use on them. I think it's a shield, but that's what happens. We start looking at them like, hey, look, man, you're here to protect and serve. You got a job just like I got a job. You don't have to act like that. I just want to have a casual conversation with you. But I don't know. I'm not a police officer, so I just wanted to kind of add to Travis's point. I've seen it before too. I could tell you all about an incident where I was mistreated by a cop, but guess what? I remember what I did to even be put in that position for that cop to do what he did to me.
Well,
I'll in those positions.
And I'll go a step. No, I'll go a step further. And this again is coming from personal experiences. So I mentioned my mom's family. Well, for several years, I served as a chaplain for the Russell County Sheriff's Department in Russell County, Virginia. So I carried a badge. I worked with law enforcement. I was with them. I counseled them, I dealt with them, and I went with them on calls. And so I know firsthand what I'm talking about. So don't think I'm just sitting back here with the Vegas backdrop and making comments.
Look at that, Look at this. Look, he's dropping it out there for his female fans. He comes with a badge. He flashes that badge on his day off, right? You know it. We all know it, guys, right?
Sure. Travis Short.
Sheriff
Make
Short.
Sure you say your last name. Yeah, Sheriff Short. Make sure you say your last name first.
That is our Travis Short.
Yep.
That is right. The only thing I flashed now was swag like CMH23 and
What is that, Travis? I don't even know what that means.
CMH23 is actually it is back in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. It's the Country Music Highway. US 23 runs through Eastern Kentucky, and it's where a lot of country music singers actually were born and raised. Loretta Lynn, Tom T. Hall, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Okay.
It's that stretch of road, and so I'm a partner with CMH23 and the Appalachian Arts and Entertainment Awards, which Liberty and Tory presented and things like that. So trying to represent as much as I can with them. But I didn't want people to think that I'm just sitting in my office and I'm making armchair quarterback comments. I've been there. I've watched it. I've counseled. I've been the sounding board when law enforcement needed to talk about things. I've gone with them. And I'm going to tell you right now, at 1 o'clock in the morning, there are some houses and some communities you do not want to be knocking on that door. And I've been
correct.
I with them. We've knocked on that door. The door is open, and we've had to tell people your son or daughter was in a car accident, or your son and daughter was murdered, or your son and daughter died from a drug overdose. I mean, I've been there. I've served with them, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm just making these comments lightly. I've witnessed it. As I said, my mother's family, I've witnessed it from having done it. I've been part of it. I've seen it. So I'm just tossing out there. And that's why I never, and you'll never see me, I never do, I back the blue or Blue Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter. I'm not going to do that because I am of the opinion all lives matter regardless.
I agree, Travis. Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm going to make a stance and make it political. I'm just going to speak my mind. I'm going to tell you what I've experienced and what I know.
Wait a minute now, you're taking Derek's line away from him.
Speak your mind. And people, speaking your mind does have some repercussions and mild consequences, just depending, right? But, what's the point of bottling it all up? I mean, I'd rather somebody to tell me they're straight up a racist or something versus acting like he or she isn't, because at least I know what ground we stand or where we stand.
It's better to have an honest and open dialogue than just a waste of breath and space and people agreeing with you just to appease you. So, yeah, I agree.
And racists 100%. Don't call themselves racist. They don't say, hey, I'm a racist. They say, no, this is how I feel about things, what I've experienced, what I'm seeing, how my life has been, how I, live my life.
And I would imagine even in something like that, the person either had a bad experience with someone of a different race or color, or perhaps they were raised up in that type of environment and atmosphere. I don't know. I was always the kid, even though I was suffering the way that I was in childhood, I always made friends, and I always made friends with every race and color of person, and they were my best friends, and so I never saw anybody for their color. I just saw people, and to this day, I still see the same thing. I just see people. And so I'm grateful and thankful for that. Despite my sufferings in childhood, I still had something in me that I could make friends, and certainly with friends from every background and ethnicity that was out there. So I guess I was sort of like an ambassador back then, but there are people, and I know people like this, that I've come across people like this in my lifetime, that they, some of them, especially the father, was coming from that type of way to where they were just very, very racist, and then that was bred into the individual, or individuals that had, really bad and traumatic experiences with some from different racial backgrounds that suddenly became an automatic label for them that everybody's bad, since they had the experience with that type of person from that background, then everybody's bad. And it's very sad and tragic, and all you can do is pray for people like that, and I guess agree to disagree or have no dialogue with them at all. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Well spoken.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? I'll shift gears, right? I've got something for you to listen to here, and the audience to listen as well, right? When you're listening to this, I just want you to kind of close your eyes and just listen. And then what we'll do is I'll fill in the backstory of where it comes from, who it is, and I'm telling you, oh boy, you're gonna love this, Bill. You really are.
Is this Elon Musk?
No. It starts,
right.
and this is the heading of a chapter in a book. It's somebody reading a book, and they say, "You are the Illuminati." You there. Yes, you. Come with me. I'm going to tell you a secret. You are the Illuminati. You simply have to go through the pop magic with a CK. Magic with a CK purification process in order to establish your membership. Magic, CK, rules the world. And it's the same kind of magic that you and I can do. That's the truth that few want you to know. When you become the cult leader of your own Illuminati, you become the leader of yourself and make practical decisions to bring order to the chaos around you, thus enabling a divine, magical life. You choose the reality you live in by using your divine will to focus on the kind of things that bring you nourishment and make you feel aligned with the angelic forces around you. Being the Illuminati requires liberating yourself from all the energy-sucking vortexes of what I call the simulation. Like the Matrix, the simulation, blah, 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 blah. So if we come over here, you can see the picture I'm talking about, right? Interesting hand. There's an Eye of Horus on the hand, but it gets even more interesting when you realise where this comes from, boys. Are you ready? Are you ready? This comes from Madonna.
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me.
Madonna reading from a book called Pop Magic.
Does it surprise me a bit, that individual?
And listen, for people out there thinking, oh, hang on a minute. Well, it's not me that posted it, you see. It comes from Madonna's own Instagram account. And it was her that posted this picture. And I thought,
I was just going to say,
I'll
Kev,
keep that for the boys. I'll keep that. Oh,
the these people like her. These people like her. And the previous week before that we made mention of these
Derek's
people in their own words.
Derek's devastated. Look, he's like, oh, no.
They are invited to come on this show anytime and engage in a debate with us. Tell me how wrong I am about you. Tell me that I've got it all wrong. Prove to me, show me. Let's hear your case in your own words. What we're hearing in your own words, like Kev just read here, is how evil you are and how you are part of a system that is part of controlling our world, that is taking orders from the minions of the devil himself. So if what I'm saying is fairy tale, if what Kev just said is a lie, come on, Madonna, and any of you other ones, you're welcome to come on here anytime, and we'll engage in intelligent and straightforward dialogue, and you can present your case and tell us how wrong we are, and maybe you'll show us the light.
Travis, do you think like using your badge might work? Can we get Madonna on the show? Look at Derek's devastated. Look, he's thinking Baker. Come on, man. You're muted up, dude. You're muted.
You devastated him with Billie Eyelash, so I mean, he's still feeling the pain from her.
What about this new weirdo that Kevin exposed us to? What's her name? I'd never even heard of her.
Her name is Poppy Jasmine Bean.
Yeah.
No relation of Bill Bean. Jasmine Bean. Okay, look at this here. Her. Look at this. This is Jasmine Bean.
She's no relation to me whatsoever.
Here we go. That is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeez.
Deary me.
Wow.
So when you look at something like this, in my opinion, this is a classic example of the devil trying to recreate the world in his image and in his likeness. Now, there will be some to say she's a performance artist and she loves to dress up that way and she can do whatever she wants to do. Well, she does have free will, so she can do whatever she wants to do. But when I look at something like this, I don't see anything good. I don't feel anything good whatsoever. I feel evil and negativity coming from every one of these images.
That's not healthy. That's like really grim, right? Derek's still not speaking to me.
About this?
Derek is still not speaking to me.
What makes you feel good? Derek, what are you thinking?
Man, well, you stole a little bit of my thunder. There's just going to be people to say that's just, her own creativity. People are always trying to set their own trends, hence being trendsetters. I don't know who in the heck would want to set a trend like that and be known for it, but evidently, there you go. She's one. But somebody like Madonna and all those old artists that we talk about so much, the Beatles and the Paul McCartney,
Rolling Stones,
I mean, these guys, they help sculpt the world through vibrations, musical vibrations for all of us. Even before you, Bill, realized what was going on. The music was good. It was soothing. Somehow, it just made us feel good for a long time, and we learned their lyrics and we recited their lyrics. I don't know, man. This is me.
I'm just sorry.
What were you gonna say, Kev?
The album this is from, like we were looking at images over there.
Wow. What's it called? Hellbilly Deluxe?
Worldwide Torture.
There you go.
Wow. Hey, perfect. It suits. That's a perfect title.
When I look at something like this, I'm looking at a imitation of a demon, what some demons would look like. So go ahead, Derek. I didn't mean to interrupt.
What do they call them? Those what kind of dolls are those things? Those I can't think of them. Porcelain dolls and things of that nature. Looks like she's trying to emulate something like that.
Oh, no, that's no porcelain doll look. That's like a Mothman
knife. Like a China doll to you?
I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. There is that.
Travis, tell everybody we're not excusing this as you go on with your statement.
I get what you're saying. I mean, there's always, you've got kabuki makeup, and some people go that route for their performance. I get it, because she does look very much like it's almost like
girl.
Well, geisha girl, porcelain doll, Raggedy Ann doll. It's like a combination of all
it's
three.
It's like a rake met the Mothman.
They call us grumpy old men that are just we refuse to change. That's all anybody else other than the people that support what we're saying are saying right now.
This goes beyond a generational gap. This is like a dimensional gap.
I was going to say, when we start talking about modern music and modern celebrities, we're not the four horsemen, we're the four fartmen. That's what we're, the four old.
Oh, come on, boys, come on. Maybe we're just being judgy. Let's take a look at the lyrics here.
Let's let her speak for herself.
Hello, Kitty. Hello, Kitty. Hello, dear friend. Your smile is pretty, like a flower that's in bloom. Love is in your heart and sings a happy tune. Hello, Kitty. Play with us today. That sounds cool. And it goes, hello, Kitty, says you can never have too many. Friends, well, I've got none. No one's no fun. They all think I'm dumb, rotting away in my part of one. And I honestly can't tell you the last time I saw the sun. Hello, Kitty, got no worries in a fantasy land. Instead, I'm dragging out each day, pulling my hair out strand by strand. One day I'm going to get stretched too hard and snap like a rubber band. I wonder if this will get better. People do say that it can. I'm losing the will to live just reading through it.
It's not very interesting lyrics.
From such a positive place, isn't she?
Yeah,
I mean, she's expressing herself
she's got a long way to go. She's got a long way to go to catch up with the creepiness of Billie Eilish. Long way to go.
I don't know. She's got Billie Eilish in presentation, that's for sure.
True. Very true. Yeah, you're probably right. She could be like
this is a tag team here.
Yeah, they're probably like two of the devil's spawn. There will be 12.
They could be the children of Marilyn Manson, for all we know.
Don't worry. They'll do a song collaboration.
I wouldn't doubt that, Derek.
Our good friend Poppy as well. Poppy's another one. So, Derek, what do you think of your idol Madonna with her book?
It's just ridiculous. I mean, hey, but a lot of these people think that that's what helped them along their ways. One thing about me personally, and I think a lot of people have started getting to the point whether they believe in, they're devil supporters, Satan supporters, or real righteous in belief of God and Jesus. They're just getting out of denial. They're just accepting who they are. If you're a satanic worshiper and you think Satan was, casted away unfairly, then that's what's happening. These people are coming out openly and they're supporting Satan. That's all it is. I mean, we're watching it and we're having conversations about it. And if that's the case, then at least we know who they are. Like, one thing about me, the freedom of speech and the right to believe how you want to believe is still something I support. Not everybody is going to believe how, we think is the right way to, or, just I don't know, the approach in being righteous. That's what we all want. We want to be truth and represent ourselves properly to, our friends, our peers, and family, right? These people far surpass that. They don't care about that anymore. All they want you to know is this is how I am now. I'm reading this, I'm reciting this. This is who I believe in and what I believe in, and whether you like it or not, I don't care. And that's the only you have to feel that.
Let's look at it another way then, right?
There.
Let's look at it another way, guys, and I'll get you to chip in here, Bill, because we are warrior mode. We get here together every week. We try and document the high strangeness, the weirdness. And that comes on the back of me and Bill doing shows together for years, where I always continuously had one common question. Bill, is the paranormal activity and the darkness, is it increasing? And the reason I would ask that, it's not because it's a cool question, it's because reality. Are we heading towards that time? Not that anyone knows the time, but what does it say to you, Bill, when we now can go from the realms of speculating about the triangles and the things that appeared in Madonna's videos to a time where they comfortably sit there and put out pictures of themselves reading about how they're Illuminati princesses, and there's no hiding it now. It's not veiled anymore, right?
Thank you. That's all I'm saying. Right on it, Kev. Right on.
That's exactly right, Kev. It is increasing.
And Bill,
and
add to that, right?
It is all leading somewhere.
Yeah, but add to that as well, because there's more. Because you've got the unveiling of the Baphomet statues over in America. Yeah. I'm not American, but I never thought in my lifetime, be it America, Australia, the UK, never thought I'd see statues of that being unveiled. You've got the Vatican saying that they'll baptize aliens as well, all that going on. You've got the picture of the Pope sitting in front of the big demonic kind of statues and all the things going on. You've got all of the things going on around the world. We've got plague. You could use that word loosely for things going on. So whereabouts we're witnessing something pretty monumental here, right?
That I can guarantee. And for anybody that would disagree, well, then I'd say, I'm sorry to say, you're living in denial, because we are in perilous times. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we are, and it pains me to say these things. I don't want this to be true. I want people in life and society to be good and everything to be just wonderful and blessed. But that's not the case. We're living in perilous times. Our society, in my opinion, is crumbling. And it is all a part of, a rebellion against God. And the devil is the engineer of that. So in my opinion, like I previously stated a few minutes ago, I think that God is allowing him to do this, by the way, and it's because of man's free will. But the devil is literally trying to recreate the world in his image, after his likeness, after his kind. And so this is why we see a shift. And the shift has been going on since the 50s, since the mid-50s. It was a very cleverly calculated plan to destabilize society. And it has worked brilliantly. Look at where we are now. And so the powers that be, the architects of this plan, which I believe comes straight from the devil, they must be feeling really good about themselves now, because they have people where they want them to be. And I think this is all leading to a momentous event, a great and terrible day. Now, I wouldn't dare say that God told me that on this day or this time it's all going to come down. That would make me a liar, a false prophet. So I would never dare give a prophecy and say, oh, you know, on this day and time. No, I won't say that. But what I will say is, based on what I'm seeing, based on what I'm immersed in on a daily basis in helping people from all over the world with a variety of problems that all come back to be spiritual in nature, that A, it's increasing, and B, more and more people are being affected and afflicted. And it's just very, very sad. And I just wish and pray, I've prayed this, that collectively mankind could simultaneously stop and take a deep breath and say, I want to change my life. And in the way that I want to change my life is I want to live my life like Jesus did, in being selfless and in wanting to help others, expecting nothing in return, and treating others how I want to be treated. Now, if mankind had such an epiphany and this miraculous event happened all around the world simultaneously, do you realize that everything would be changed in an instant, and all of this evil that just continues to spew out everywhere would be stopped? It would be stopped because mankind, by the power of God working through us, could make such a transformation collectively, all brothers together, standing shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, saying, we are children of God. We are people of the planet Earth, that God has created us to populate this planet, and it is time for us to stop striving with each other and to come together collectively for the betterment of mankind, giving God the praise and the glory. Therefore, he will give us the blessing and favor to help us to move forward. It's not rocket science, but people just can't grasp it.
Bill is a very, very smart man, and it's crazy after listening to what he just said. I tried to share a link to the three of us in the chat. I don't know if it made it, but I'm going to try to explain what was sent to me by Jay Roberts a couple days ago. And this is something.
Jay's a good man.
Yeah, Jay's good people's. Big shouts out to Jay. After looking at this YouTube video, it was something that I completely understood without even seeing it. And I wondered, I felt this happening. It has a lot to do with what you just said. So in this tutorial, or whatever it is, explanation of what this lady thinks is happening to the world and the galaxy is we're slowly, the Earth and the Milky Way is slowly transitioning into the 8th dimension. Okay, so but in order to make a smooth transition, all the molecules and matter and all has to be in accordance with that change. So, for an example, have you all noticed how fast things seem to be moving? I have. Things are moving quicker than what I remember them moving when I was younger. It's
absolutely
like
correct, Derek.
It's like a super speed, but unless you're paying attention, you might not notice it. It's not really giving us a tremendous amount of time to think, it seems like. It's just like we're just moving and moving and moving. Every day seems to be the same day, and then all of a sudden it's what we look at as the weekend, because we look at templates or milestones or landmarks. The weekend, Friday to Sunday to Sunday, Monday to Friday. You know what I mean? So it's like everything's moving so fast, and that is happening for a reason. It's a transition of molecules to, well, according to what she's saying, to actually enter us into a new dimension. So if that is true, it could explain a lot. And, there's so many questions that one little tutorial of YouTube video, come on, is not going to explain enough. But Bill, you said a lot of what I'm saying right now. You haven't even seen what I'm talking about.
No.
These things are happening, and it's really happening real time, and it's only certain people that are actually really understanding what's going on. So you kind of got to force yourself to slow down. Everything's so fast. I mean, I can't even. I mean, I'm having a hard time myself keeping up. I'm happy with the progress of some of the speed, though. Does that make sense? Things are happening in a positive direction. So I like the flow. But I mean, geez, I mean, sometimes I'm like, man, please slow down a little bit and let me catch my breath. I mean, does this make any sense to you, Travis?
It's called getting old. That's what happens. You get old.
It speeds up.
It takes us longer to catch up, man. I'm just saying.
I think as well, though, Travis, you know, everyone, you know, when we were younger, you would hear our parents talking about how time speeds up when you get older. But we've got that going on. But also, you got to remember as well, at no other point in history have we had a 24/7 information stream coming at us.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be when I was growing up back in the 80s, you would get maybe your news about 6 p.m. tea time with your dinner, and then it wouldn't be back on again until maybe 10:30, and then an hour after that, the TV would go off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that ties in a lot to how we perceive time moving. But at the same time as well, if some of the listeners out there follow my channel, and we've been looking at the cycles that go on, the cataclysmic cycles, and we watch Suspicious Observers, and he's talking about how the speed of the Earth, the rotation of the Earth, is actually speeding up right now. It's like, listen, guys, it's like milliseconds, okay? It's milliseconds, so that's not really contributing to our perceiving time going faster. But I definitely think when you get older, it does speed up naturally anyway, a little bit. And then add to that this 24/7, we're bombarded. And even if we're not consuming media, we're still now living in a world where there's electromagnetic fields that are knocking our brain out of the way. It's not the way it used to be. I'm not saying not saying there's any conspiracy, but our brains are now sitting in an environment that is not like at any other time when we've kind of documented things in the past, you know? So all of that.
Look how quickly it goes from Sunday to Sunday, from this show every Sunday. It's just like a snap of the finger.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And Kev's right. It's, you know, because I was going to ask him, you know, I remember growing up in the 80s too, and the TV would go off, you know, there would be the sign off and it would go to static.
Remember, but like people would have conversations, Travis, after that? Like people would sit and talk to each other without any distraction, no little boxes to look at. And
that's right.
Everything is on. What used to not be on is on now. So media does bombard us. Don't get me wrong. I'm a media professional and I love media. I love the fact that my radio stations, Kev can listen to them in there in Glasgow. If all he has to do is download the app or stream us online. I love that. I love that we're accessible all over the world. But being accessible makes you accessible. So, I mean, it drains us. And it was funny. I was thinking of similar lines today. I was watching, of course, since we started having Lon on the show, I subscribe to Phantoms and Monsters. So I'm constantly getting these.
Great website, isn't it?
It's amazing. Just so much information. But, I said, well, wow, there's a lot more cryptid sightings now. Then I had to stop myself and go, well, are there more cryptid sightings, or am I just now being exposed to the stories more? Because I had other sources that I was getting, but they were not as proliferate as Lon is. Lon has a post every, there's at least 3 a day on Phantoms and Monsters. So it's like, are there more sightings, or am I just being exposed to more information?
I think both.
It is. It's both.
There's another
things,
website for people as well, Travis, that follow Lon stuff, and it's called cryptidhunters.org.
Yes.
Very good. You got a Dogman cryptid canine shot by Coyote Hunter in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Is that Pennsylvania, yeah, PA?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I got it right. Bravo.
You're an American after all.
Hey, listen, us Brits still have a big say in your country. Shh. Don't tell people.
True. Very, very true.
I'm only joking.
You guys are talking about growing up in the 80s, and I'm thinking about growing up in the 70s when there were 3 TV stations, and then they eventually added a 4th, but there were 3, channel 13, 11, and 2. And then they added WDCA Channel 20 out of Washington, D.C., and we thought we were living large because we had 4 stations to watch. And you'd have to go up on the roof and adjust the rabbit ears up there, the antennas up there, and then you had rabbit ears on the TV, and no remote control, by the way.
Yep. You had to go on a rooftop. We had to go to the top of a damn mountain to move the antenna. That's my hand to God. We had to go to the top of a mountain. The antenna was on top of a mountain behind the house. And we would actually have people lined up from my parents' house halfway up the mountain, and we would yell down when they were turning it. You know, if you got a signal, that's where you left it. You had to leave it right there. And then because going back to law enforcement, we'll do full circle. We started using the actual big field walkie-talkies that the police officer used. So somebody would be at the top of the mountain with one of those, and somebody would be down, and we would turn that thing. And then we got a satellite dish, 1982 big.
Wow, you're rich.
You had some money, man.
We rented the first one. It was one of those. It was like 30 feet. I mean, it made
it looked like SETI. It looked like the Arecibo.
So jealous. We had this giant satellite dish in the yard, and we had to go out and hand crank that thing. You know, there was no motorized. You had to go out and crank. And of course, at that time, all of the channels were, you know, open and free. So, you know, we got exposed to everything. I mean, you had HBO, Cinemax, the Playboy channel, all that stuff was there. Then they scrambled it, and then we got.
So we see, Kev, a pattern, and Derek, a pattern here that, he was exposed to this early in childhood. So. We see this development here.
Sheriff Short is giving us the details, man.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Sheriff in town, man. But that did. I mean, I'll be honest. I would set my alarm, wake up at 3:00 in the morning. We'd get up, and I would start watching WTBS out of Atlanta. They would run
Superstation.
The Superstation, WGN. Yeah. That's why we're Chicago Cubs fans. I mean, WGN, I could absorb as much as I possibly could. For a young kid growing up in the hills of Virginia, having never been exposed to anything outside of his hometown, that was an amazing opportunity to watch movies and to watch TV shows and news stories and be exposed to that. But with every positive does come a negative. And going back to what Kev was talking about, once that entertainment started being 24/7, 365, we've never shut it down.
Yeah.
We just keep giving and giving and giving, and that energy keeps sucking.
Well, guess what? You hit the nail on the head there, because think of this, Kev. Think about when Travis says something like that, it takes me right back to the movie They Live. And so the signal was coming from the CNN building on top of there. And so this is all designed when it went 24/7 with this continuous bombardment of news. That was lowering the frequency and vibration. And that's what it's still doing to this day. So this is a very calculated plan to weaken people and to open them up for a variety of problems.
Not only that, what about all the dangerous rays and radiation and things that we don't even see happening? These things are emitting through the air on a normal, constant basis, because exactly what Travis said, it's nonstop. It's like electricity. You can't stop it. I used to do cable installments, so all we were able to do was just block the signal. That's it. You couldn't stop it. You just blocked it. You put a buffer on the end. But electricity flows constantly, and all you do, it reaches down to your, that box on the back of your house, on the side of your house, and then the electric company comes out and they turn that off, and you can't reactivate it. They don't stop the electricity flow.
So what's coming through there?
Stops.
What's coming through modems on computers? What's coming through the iPhones? Again, I've studied about these things. You guys have as well. There could be a plethora of harmful things that are in the atmosphere via these devices that people, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. So a lot of people would dismiss this kind of talk as ridiculous. Again, listen to this. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it is not there. And so, again, what do? How do we shield ourselves? Well, for me, I always take it to God. And I always pray that God just keeps me in his hedge of protection 24/7 and shields me from all these things. There really is no other way unless you walk around with certain garments or devices that may block these things out. But other than that, I mean, for me, I'm just always going to take it to God. But we live in a world that is truly stranger than fiction, pardon the pun.
Right on time.
Yeah, and these things are very, very real. And so, again, it takes me back to that movie, They Live Again. The dish is up there on top of that roof, and it's pumping out that signal. And then in the end, Roddy Piper destroys the dish and the signal. And then the invading force, those aliens, they don't have their cloaking anymore. So all of a sudden they're now seen. The people see them for who they are. And then they flee the planet. I really believe what we're going through currently is very similar to the events portrayed in that movie.
They're going to start uncloaking soon. I hope so. That'll be pretty cool. But Travis, I was going to say, you, Travis, think of this, right? If we go back, because we're a similar age, me and you. So, 1989, Berlin Wall comes down, right? Really, really major, huge story. Back at the time, we had our news of it at, say, 10 o'clock over here in the evening, and it went off at 10:30, and then the TV went off. And then how did we manage to cope? How did we make it through to the next morning, dude, alive? How could we manage to go like 8 or 9 hours until the next news update to find out what went on? Because I ask you, can you remember? Because I can't remember what it was like just seeing a news story and being able to let it go. Right, well, we'll get updated on that in the morning again. It's weird, right? It's weird, isn't it?
It is.
It never used to put people up or down, and now what are we doing? Anytime something happens, onto Twitter, onto Facebook, analysing everything.
Yeah.
Doing our Facebook forensics, thinking we know how it fits our own preconceived ideas.
You could go on Google News right now or Yahoo, the news, and get the minute by minute news feeds that are going through.
Yep. We made it through the night, okay, Trav, right?
We did, and the thing is that as you having access to, as Bill said, real-time news stories actually doesn't make it really any better, because by the time, like Kev was saying, by the time we went to bed and got up the next morning, all of the BS had actually worked its way out of the system. So we were getting an actual filtered story of what happened, not just, well, and you even heard the guy that when Bill, the clip that Kev shared, CBS News there, he was like, we heard this and people thought it was coming from inside the stadium. And should we run or should we not run? Well, had that, that piece aired in '89, all that would have happened was we would have gotten the story that there had been a shooting outside of the stadium, and we would not have had that real time, and we would not have known what was going on inside the stadium. But that actually does do more clouding of our judgment than it does helping us filter the news story itself, because A news story, going back to journalism 101, is the who, what, when, where, why, how. That's really all a news story is. And you report those things, the inverted pyramid of who, what, when, where, why, how. That's what a news story is. It's not all of the editorial that goes along with it.
He just said pyramid, this... Bill. He just said pyramid. He's in the Illuminati.
I said inverted pyramid, so that makes me not Illuminati.
Oh, it's even worse. That's a magic word.
That's even worse.
It's a chalice. Oh my God, it's a chalice.
33rd degree, man. I see
what
you.
What also comes into today's media is the reporter or the lead anchor or whatever. They're an entertainer now. They're not somebody sitting there and giving the news a straight presentation of the news. Now they're an entertainer, and they're injecting their opinion and thought into it, spinning it in their way. So now you have it really murky and clouded. So if you go to Fox News, you'll get one version of that. If you go to CNN, you'll get another version, MSNBC, another version. So you're going to all these different places, but you could get several different versions of the same event that took place because these people are injecting their personalities into it and therefore spinning it in their way.
And the consumer is going to choose which one of those individuals is telling them that they're right.
Yeah.
They are. They're going to see whose opinion lines up with theirs because nobody wants to know they're wrong, right? So then you'll listen to that particular brand, that particular host, and then you'll go out there and you'll parrot anything they say. Even probably most of the time without people ever fact-checking whether even the event took place in the first place.
But this is why we have things, Kev, like QAnon and all this, because people will just fall right into something, and they're led right into something without taking a breath and a step back and saying, okay, let me research this for what this is, and who is, number one, who is this? Which to this day, they can't tell you who that is that's running this whole QAnon thing. And secondly, what is this? And what is the purpose for this? And how is this bettering mankind by pitting one group against another? And for instance, I've seen recent little headlines, which I wouldn't even click on, but I saw QAnon type of things saying that this senator has just been arrested and this one and that one. And I'm going, wait a minute. I just saw this guy on TV. So you're saying he's arrested? These are some of the most ridiculous statements and little clips and stories, and nobody questions this. They'll go along with the narrative and say, yeah, boy, did you hear that? I read that. So-and-so, he was just arrested. Hillary, she's been arrested. These people aren't arrested. Are you kidding me? These people are leading the high life. Nobody's arrested. Nobody's getting arrested. And yet people still fall in with this narrative, and it is really controlling their lives.
The joys of the cult of the 17th letter of the alphabet. But you can't name who QAnon was. It was Code Monkey. And you see, this is the thing, though. People don't want to go and check what their own kind of belief systems are built upon. Because, like I say, again, nobody wants to find out they're wrong. And this is what the internet has given rise to. We all end up in our own little echo chambers where there's just enough people to agree with everything we think is correct, and enough people to drown out any dissenting voice that comes along with any contrary opposing ideas or information. And they love it. Who loves it? The people that run this planet. Why? Because we're so easy to divide and conquer.
Easy.
So easy.
Bingo.
So yeah, absolutely so easy. And for people out there, just a real head scratcher for anyone who wants to question maybe their own following of a particular political party or an individual. And let's use Trump, because I hear a lot of people still say that Trump was anti-establishment, and he really tried. But Bill, sorry, I need to finish this.
He's coming back.
But I need to finish this, right? Because for people who think he's anti-establishment and he was going against the system, you got to bear in mind that a lot of his campaign was built upon the information that came from data mining and companies like Cambridge Analytica. And when it comes to Cambridge Analytica, working with Steve Bannon, who ended up in Trump's team and major part of his campaign, how is it, right, that with Cambridge Analytica being a weapons-grade communications platform, okay, with an export license in the UK, which means anytime they want to work for anyone outside the UK, they have to get the express permission of the government and the intelligence services over here. So think about that. Think about that. The Trump campaign was using a tool that had to be used with the permission of the British government. So somebody in the British government, the British establishment, and MI5 decided, yeah, okay, we'll let you use our weapons-grade communication election rigging platforms. So if that's the case, then how's Trump anti-establishment? You see, it's weird, right? They control all sides, folks. They all control every side. We're all being played. And that's the thing they don't want you to know. And we talked racism earlier on. And you see racism being spoke about a lot because it is a problem. But again, it serves a big purpose as well, because if they can get people concentrating on colour and all of us arguing about it and fighting over that, again, we're fighting amongst ourselves.
Right, it's creating that great divide.
Exactly. The one thing they hate is like people actually showing a bit of love, a bit of compassion, understanding, talking to people of different opinions instead of attacking them, not getting involved in silly online fights over things that most of the cases we can't even affect anyway in the real world. We should be coming together, because I think we can all look around with everything going on in the world. Everything. Doesn't matter what you think about viruses, doesn't matter what you think about politics, nothing. I think we can all see that there's pretty heavy stuff going on right now. And we're all in this together. All in it together. Not a World Economic Forum way, but we're all in this together. Team humanity, mankind, call it what you will. And I don't think by us arguing and fighting over things that in the end of the day that they're minor issues compared to what's really going on in the world. And I tell you, guys, we could change it in a heartbeat if we just came together and identified the problem. Warrior mode, as Bill says, you know.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Everything he says
is true. Off my soapbox.
Nah, I love it. That was good stuff.
Only comes out once a week.
As kept saying it, what comes into my mind is all the world's a stage. Many performers and portrayers, each another's audience. And that's what this is. It's theater. He's absolutely right. It's just like pro wrestling. They pit a good guy against a bad guy.
Yeah, and this isn't about America either, Bill, because even over here,
it's a world.
And I'm somebody that's pro-Brexit. I'm glad that we got out of the European Union. But at the same time, it's quite interesting when you find out, again, Cambridge Analytica, they were the ones that were coming up with all the slogans that the Brexit campaign was using. Wait, but I thought the establishment wanted us to stay in Europe. And then you realise that they're using their own apparatus to steer the other side of things. And then you start finding out that the top Tory people and all of their donors had big, huge tax bills coming up to pay to the EU. But we miraculously now are out the EU. Now again, not to say that I have a problem with that, because the EU's crazy, better off out of it. But at the same time, it was the same establishment that were using their own mechanisms, their own weaponized information to steer people to vote for Brexit. They play all sides, guys. They've got the game rigged.
Of course they do.
Yep.
This is what's going on. Okay, I got it all figured out.
See, I'm talking, it inspires the Strowman.
Listen. You gentlemen and everybody else out there have to hear what I'm saying. Everything that we've been talking about tonight and previous shows is 100% correct, okay? If they keep us focused on this separation and distracted by whatever, because it's a multitude of things that we can talk about, right? The list goes on and on, right? But they're doing this because what's happening to the world. Kev said it. It's not the United States. It's not the United Kingdom. It's the entire world. The world is changing right underneath our feet, literally, right? Literally, okay? And those top scientists and people who study the changes because they have that high-tech equipment to do it, they know it, okay? Look at the storms that came in yesterday. I've never seen storms like that. You're talking electrical storms that are just insane. I watched an awning just blow off of a neighbor's house, across the street from me.
And we didn't get any of it here, Derek. You got it.
How
you guys
is
got
that?
it there.
This is
we got nothing.
While you're talking, Derek, I'll play the floods that are going on in Europe while you're talking.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be praying for them.
Thank you. Do you now, Kev? See, Kev, we're locked in once again, brother. You understand what I'm saying?
But Derek,
what about
from your area to, like, say, Glen Burnie, Pasadena area, severe stuff. But yet in my area, just a couple of drops.
That possible? How is that possible that we get hit? You're only talking about, what, 30 miles, maybe?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
Kev, do you hear that, Travis? 30 miles, maybe. You understand? It takes me 40 miles to get from here to DC in one location. 50 miles, trust me, I track this every day, right? Exactly 50 miles from my job to the border of Virginia. We're not separated by much, but you're talking about almost monsoon-like storms flooding in my house from my ceiling. Okay, this is very, very serious, and this is happening everywhere. Thanks for showing those clips. What about the moon? When was the last time you guys really took a look at the moon? And you see how big it looks? It's in the different colors. Have you ever seen the moon look like that? It's like
the sun doesn't look the same either.
It's not like it used to look when I was a kid. It's like orange, and sometimes, unless I'm going crazy, it even looks like either we're closer to it, or it would be the same thing, right? Or it's closer to us. I don't know what's going on, but there's something is changing, and it's happening.
Different.
It's happening, and I think you actually mentioned this on one show too, Bill. This is real stuff that's happening, and it's not us just up here making up stuff. I think people should actually be out there doing their own research. These things are happening real time, and you and everybody else out there can look it up for yourselves. And listen, somebody like myself, I'm paying really close attention to this. I'm a stargazer. I study these things. I pay attention to it on a regular basis, and I'm highly connected to the universe. So I watch the rhythmic flow of everything, because I feel it studying the wavelengths, the energy that I receive. So
and you're right. What you said about I heard about your area, and then my brother lives in not too far. He lives in the Glen Burnie area, and then another friend of ours lives in the Pasadena area. All these areas are pretty close together. And just like you said, it was like a monsoon type of event that was very destructive, but not for a long period of time.
Not for a long period of time. Now, the only thing I could say that, and I was thinking about this before I even made these statements, right, is back in the Revolutionary War, there was a freak storm that came and just wiped out the Redcoats. It was and it was the only thing that saved them. I guess the Minutemen that were fighting against them at that time, that was the only thing that pushed them back, was this storm, this storm that just freaked out of nowhere. So these things, it's hard. It's really tough. I just think it's all about gravitational. I think it's about the rotation of the world and its relation to once. Now I know we can go there, Bill, because I just think there are certain things that are meant to happen, and there are certain things that aren't supposed to happen.
And there are certain things that can be manipulated to happen. Mm-hmm. And so that's where HAARP comes in, and things that could control our weather. For instance, a few days ago in Ohio, there was a George Floyd memorial that was destroyed by lightning that came and just absolutely obliterated it. So was it an act of God, or was it an act of those that could control the weather? To make the weather a weapon? And there are such things, and it comes from devices such as HAARP. And perhaps even CERN can do something like that, or there's little mini CERNs that are around in the different places. So
no, don't throw CERN under the bus, Bill. Don't throw CERN under. There's no weather manipulation coming from particle accelerators. Definitely not. HAARP.
Well, then it'll be HAARP.
Well, not even HAARP, but maybe one of the other 170 odd weather installations around the world. I think HAARP is now with the, if I remember rightly, the University of Anchorage. There's one over in Norway called IceCat.
Galcona, Alaska is where HAARP is located.
The military, they gave it
it was a military.
Well, until 3 years ago when they actually decommissioned it. But there's one over in Norway, IceCat. There's one down in Wales. That technology is definitely real, but definitely not CERN. Definitely not.
And there are treaties between countries that have been signed agreements that they won't use this weather manipulation against each other as weapons of war.
That was in the 70s. That was in the 70s.
Because they can be used against each other. And look, I'm going to say this as well. For the people out there that still support Donald Trump, look, we're not bashing Donald Trump or anybody else.
I am. It's just me. It's just me. I bash him.
No, I don't support Donald Trump anymore. I don't support any of them because I figured out the game. And, even when I was really supporting him and getting some people that were supporting me for it and others that were hating me for it. But I figured it out, and I figured it out through prayer and research. And like Kev said, it's unfortunate. And look, I mean no offense to anybody, and nor does Kev, Travis, or Derek. But the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, based on prayer and research, that Donald Trump or anybody else, they cannot be in that position of power unless they are sold out. You just can't. It'd be like me suddenly saying, okay, I'm running for president and I get everybody behind me and everybody is, I've got more than enough votes, but I can guarantee you one thing. Even though I've got, let's say I had 90% of the vote of the American people to be in that office, I guarantee you, if I was not willing to join the Brotherhood, I don't care if every single person in America voted for me, I would not be placed in that office. I firmly believe that, and I will continue to believe that. So I'll just leave it there.
2024, I could vote for that. I could get behind that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I were the president or the ruler, there would be sweeping changes in this country. I can guarantee you that. And it's just, I would do it too, believe me. If there were support behind me to do it and we could stay away from having to join up with the Brotherhood, you better believe that I would absolutely take that on. But it's unfortunate. So again, I fiercely supported Donald Trump for most of his presidency, and I prayed for him and wished him well. I received 2 letters from him, a letter from Melania, and I supported them, but then I couldn't support them anymore when certain things were happening, and I started to really do some research, and it's sad and unfortunate, but that did it for me for ever supporting any political candidate ever again. So I'm out of that. I praise and worship and support God. All my attention and devotion is to him, and there is no man on this earth that I will ever, certainly no presidential candidate, that I will ever throw support like that to again.
All I would say is to anyone out there who gets a little triggered when they hear somebody like me or anyone criticizing the Lord Emperor Trump, I want you just to pause for a second. And I want you to ask yourself, how did that happen? How did I get to a place where just somebody criticizing a politician, billionaire that I don't even know makes me angry? When did that occur? And that's behavioral change communications, folks. This is just a politician we're talking about in the end of the day. Just a billionaire dude that none of us will probably meet. But yet when somebody criticizes him, something happened in the past 4 years to take you from a place where you acted like a sane person to where you want to fight people just because they they question or criticize somebody that you follow. Not many other characters like that in your life, is there? No, probably not. So how did that character get created? Because there's been psyops and it's been built up.
Yeah.
And this has been a behavioral change thing where, like I say, at one time somebody could have criticized a politician you liked and you'd have, okay, fair enough, we'll agree to disagree. But now it can be enough to divide a family.
Yeah.
How did that happen? And if
And
that
it
is you, that's
Believe
not.
me, it is
Yeah,
happening.
and again, listen, you don't have, listen. All I'm saying is just think about it. That's all I'm saying. I fully firmly believe, like Bill says, none of these people have got our best interests at heart. They truly don't. You know. So hey, it is what it is, Bill. But we've got prayer lists and Derek's wanting to jump in and.
Yeah, well,
Derek.
I was just going to touch on it just a little bit, Kev. You got to remember, in a household, in a single household, and I'm from experience, there's a different belief systems amongst the family and the couples. So it's as simple as that. It's a divide. You can easily create a divide. The only thing that keeps you and your spouse together is the fact that you have so much more on the line than a simple conversation about what political party or affiliation you believe in or support. So now times that by millions. You know, it can easily get out of hand, and nobody's all supposed to agree or believe in the same things. Now, I do want to jump back to Bill and the whole idea, and even though he would never do this, but people like him, and I'm going to include myself, we can never win a political position, not in today's society in the United States, because our punishments would be too severe for those who violate things. And
are you going to go full Handmaid's Tale on us and Gilead?
I'm not going to do it, but if you ask me to, I will. This is warrior mode. No, I'm not. You get my point. You've heard Bill go there a couple times. Well, heck, I echo that with the closest echo, almost emulating his voice. So it's and people like that, like us that believe like that, it would never happen. You got to show leniency and things of that nature, and a lot of forgiveness and all that. Don't get me wrong, I forgive a lot. Don't beat me up, chat room. But at a certain point, it has to end.
Travis, what about my idea where we have like some kind of reality show where we like send them to an island with human eating animals, right? And every week we get to like vote one off, or I mean, some weeks we're gonna lose one along the way. Hey, stuff happens, they're only a politician, play more where they came from, right?
I'm all about it. Now, I will say, I have to do transparency. I do political consulting on the side. So
we could set them on a trapdoor. Every week we'll set them on a trapdoor, man, and we'll vote for them on social media.
I've consulted for both sides. I've consulted Republican and Democrat. So I'm.
You see, folks, see, like he's a double agent and he's got a badge.
He's a double agent.
He's a flat earther too.
I am not that is the one. You know what? I have been called a lot of things. I don't mind. I am not a flat earther.
That's a deal breaker. Bill, that's a deal breaker.
Next week we're going to get into that. We are going to get into this flat Earth topic. We're going to tackle this once and for all.
When was that? Next week? I can't make it next week. I refuse. I refuse to punish my cognitive ability with that. I am not going to put my neural pathways through that. We have a
request for this. I think we ought to honor this request.
No, I can't do it, dude. I'll go producer next week. I can't bring myself to do that. I can't.
All right. Well, Travis, let's go back to your political leanings and affiliations and trapdoors in that world as well.
Yes. We want to discuss that? I don't think so. I don't think we want to go down that road, especially with the way chat room has been beating all of us tonight.
Yeah,
I had to come out of there. I had to come out, dude. I knew when I was going full Trump, I need to get out of there first.
It was fun because, it's been me in the past, and all of it was like all of us. They're just like, stone them.
They were all over me.
And yet we're still up near 100 viewers. See, they love us.
And I will say this, and with all respect and love to everybody, don't take our word for anything. Just start digging into some things and doing some solid research, and you'll see what I saw. I've read 12 books on Donald J. Trump, his life, and some things that he's done. And look, we've all done things. None of us are perfect. However, there are many inconsistencies in what his presentation is when you dig into it. And I'm sorry to say, it really was terrible for me because I supported him so strongly, but I can't support him anymore, and I'll never support any politician ever again.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry to say it.
That's why people can't get us to, join their parties, when they're running, as running mates is what I'm looking for.
Derek, I reckon if Jesus was here today, right after he got finished on Wall Street doing the bankers and giving them a swift kicking, I reckon it'd be right onto the politicians next. Big time.
Well, that's going to be a glorious day.
The lies and all the deceit and everything that they'll have to answer for. He'll start there and work his way down.
Sheriff Travis is he's got a decree. Look, come on, Sheriff, come on.
he would start in the churches. That's where he would start.
Oh, yeah.
And he would go to politics, and then it would be Wall Street. Because the root of the problem in this country is the messed up way that organized religion has been able to infiltrate. And organized religion is one of the biggest lobbying parties in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
True.
And there's a huge problem there. He would start with the churches, then he'd go to politics, then he'd go to Wall Street. Just saying. Hollywood would be his last stop. People want to claim that would be his last stop. I'm going to tell you right.
It's going to be a bad day for all those people. That's all I could say.
Bill, I know you've read a book about the family, and that's another thing altogether. But Travis...
Yeah, I've read about 12 books on that, too.
Yeah, but Travis, Derek, you're like me. You watch a lot of, documentaries, things like that. Have any of you checked out the family, the political one in Washington, as in, the really deeply religious ones that basically meet all the presidents first and give them
it's on the list.
I haven't.
Watch list.
It's on your watch list, Travis, yeah?
Yes.
We'll dig up the blurb for it so people know what I'm talking about here, but it's based on a book.
Did you seen the trailer or something?
No,
already, Travis?
Well, hang on, we'll take a look at this.
So what is this,
here.
a high-powered religious family that meets with all the presidents first, like a Billy Graham type of
an
thing?
enigmatic conservative Christian group known as the Family wields enormous influence in Washington, D.C. in the pursuit of its global ambitions. Let's see if I can find an actual...
Is this a movie or is this a
No, it's a documentary. No, you'll like this. Hang on.
I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, you'll have heard of the groups in it, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, here we go.
In my 20s, I stumbled my way in, and what I found is a secretive Christian organization called The Family that had been hiding in plain sight for over 80 years.
This was a group with tentacles around the world.
A humble example of leadership that the world has never seen.
A breathtaking enmeshment of church and state.
There were congressmen, senators, world leaders.
And they say it's about faith, but there's a shared understanding that what we're really about here is power.
I'd like to single out Doug Coe.
Doug Coe and all of his associates. I'm grateful.
Doug Coe is the longtime leader of the family.
He's the most powerful man in Washington you've never heard of.
He said the more invisible you can make your organization, the more influence it will have.
Jesus plus nothing. It's a powerful thing.
Using the National Prayer Breakfast, they dispatch representatives to build relationships with foreign leaders.
That is exactly the kind of meeting that I would want to exploit.
For the family, Jesus says you must go to those who are in positions of power.
God always uses imperfect vessels to do his perfect work. President Trump's an imperfect vessel.
Jesus is the answer, but Jesus and Capitol Hill don't mix.
Because
very
we want
true.
our family to stay together.
Yeah.
That tonight.
Very interesting.
Oh, it's awesome, guys. It's really, really, really interesting. Yeah.
And these types of organizations and players do exist, and whether it is through so-called religious organization affiliation, these are really, like it said there in the trailer, power-based people and organizations. And again, it is a brotherhood, and that brotherhood is a branch on a tree or a pyramid, if you will, There are all these different types of organizations that come together under one.
So they're called the Fellowship, also known as the Family, and the International Foundation is a US-based religious and political organization founded in 1935 by Abraham Vereide, or Vereide. The stated purpose of the fellowship is to provide fellowship forum for decision makers to share in Bible studies, prayer meetings, worship of God, and to experience spiritual affirmation and support. There you go, Douglas Coe, the one that we're talking about there. So this is the place they're talking about, you know.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that one before. I'll be digging into that.
Yeah, it's based on a book that was written, the actual documentary, but very worth a watch. Here's their website: Love God First, Love Thy Neighbor as Yourself. So yeah, I just thought, you know, again, it gives another perspective on the political kind of scene, because if you paid attention there to the audience, you'll have noticed Republicans and Democrats. Doesn't matter left and right, folks. That's the illusion. So again, they give you a side. They want us to have that identity kind of politics. They want us to identify with one side over the other, because that way we can play one side off against each other. But in reality, guys, it's like the mafia. They've all got to go to this secretive group and get kind of sworn in. And
but in the end, also, where you have supposed, you know, one side pitted against the other, again, just like pro wrestling, then in the background, behind the scenes, these people are all commingling together and attending to these brotherhood events together because they're in the same thing.
Trump was the perfect heel, right, Bill?
Perfect. He played the part perfectly. And he had Vince McMahon, his very good friend, that I believe also probably helps to write some of these storylines and orchestrates some of these things that take place in the political arena.
And did he not give Linda, the wife, a job in his? Did she not?
That's right. She was in charge of the Small Business Administration. Yeah. For instance, when Barack Obama came in, if you look at Obama before he started running for president, when he was Senator Obama and he would give his little speeches and all that, he carried himself in a different way. And then all of a sudden, when he started running for president, it was like I was looking at the wrestler The Rock. It was like he took the persona of The Rock and all of a sudden began and came off as this charismatic individual that had all these sharp one-liners, and he was doing this. He took a personality from the wrestler The Rock. I truly believe it. All you have to do is study it and look at it, and it makes you wonder if Vincent K. McMahon didn't have a hand in that as well, in helping to shape and make a polished presentation of this individual that was going to change the world. And he took on that persona of one of the most popular wrestlers of all time, The Rock.
Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. So it really makes, these are things that you take pause and you go, wait a minute. You know, this guy didn't act that way before. He didn't speak that way before. And now all of a sudden he's acting like a different character, like he's taken on some type of persona.
To me, it goes back to what we were talking about in that era where, you know, television's, programming rather ended at a certain time. Nowadays, it doesn't end, right? As we discussed.
Continuous,
so you have to keep your audience in tune or interested in what you're saying, and that's what these guys are doing, especially with the media personalities. They're just trying to carry it on. And so we're just waiting now to see what new developing information happens. I mean,
they're entertainers.
They're entertainers, and that's what these guys do. These, like you said, senators or people who are constantly on the podium and speaking to the masses.
That's right.
They're well, you know, and Obama did it really good, and that's what won him 2 terms, because he was just such a fluid speaker.
But if you look at the way he talked and you look at the way he walked, he didn't walk, he strutted. He had a strut. He wasn't like that in the beginning when he was Senator Obama, when he was the community organizer. But then all of a sudden, when he was running for president, he took on this persona, totally different. And then I started trying to put the pieces together, and I said, wait a minute, this guy's playing The Rock. He's acting like The Rock. He's talking like The Rock. He's strutting like The Rock.
Well, there was an actor, Harry Lennox.
Yes.
Harry Lennox was an Illinois-based actor, and he claimed that he trained Obama how to act presidential.
Yeah.
Now, listen, a lot of people out there will say that that's...
Sure, I read it.
Yeah, a lot of people will say that that's a conspiracy theory. Listen, it might well be, but I totally agree with what Bill Bean is saying here. He did change, and just for just to throw it out there, I mean, it's not even like they kind of look dissimilar either when you think about it. And anyone who watches the TV show The Blacklist,
yes,
this guy, you watch it, right? This guy's like the head of the FBI team. Now watch him, and then watch Obama again, and tell me that Obama doesn't act like him.
But okay, look. Coming from political consulting and branding, we do that. I coach my clients. I tell them what they need to say.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
And if you want to be, it's that old adage: you don't dress for the job you have, you dress for the job you want.
Yeah.
You don't act like the position that you have. So if you want to be president, you have to act presidential. You have to walk presidential.
Wait a minute, though, Travis.
That's what they hated about Trump.
What happened to Bush, like the younger Bush? Because when he was a politician just working his way up, I've seen him making speeches where he was on it. He was like, he could work a crowd, he could lift them up, and he was good. Yep. He was a great orator. And then you get him into the Oval Office, and then he becomes a bumbling idiot.
Kim Jong II.
I think, in all honesty, the problem that happened with George W. Bush was who he surrounded himself with.
Fool me once.
Created. What's that?
Fool me once.
Yeah. He surrounded himself.
You loved Rummy and you loved Cheney.
But that's who he surrounded. He surrounded himself with his dad's henchmen. So he could never actually be what he was. They kept him pushed down. They had to have the limelight. It was never supposed to be about W. It was about Rumsfeld and Cheney and who was the other one?
John Bolton.
Yeah.
Keep going. Kissinger.
If you and honestly, I watched
Ashcroft.
And I watched the movie W by Oliver Stone, and that movie actually made me go back and reevaluate the way that I looked at George W. It was a really good movie. I mean, and it showed how that he was actually very competent and very capable of being president, but because basically he surrounded himself with people that always were his father's shadow.
In the end of the day, he was a proxy for his dad.
That's exactly what it was. So we never, honestly, the sad thing is we never got to see what George W. Bush could have done as president.
Thankfully.
I'll never forget the clip in the church when this was, I don't know if it was after his presidency. They were in a church for something, and the collection plate comes around, and the old man Bush puts the money in, and then the plate goes around to W, and the old man pulls the thing back and puts the money in again for George W. Bush. So,
okay, listen, before we hand off to Bill for the prayer list, it would be rude.
Yeah, we're getting late.
It would be rude not to play some Bush-isms, right? Here we go.
We got an issue in America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country.
And in his brief remarks, the president drew a roar from the crowd after putting his foot in his mouth.
You helped our nation celebrate its bicentennial in 1976.
The president's humor came to the rescue.
She gave me a look that only a mother could give a child.
Thank you for holding this awesome speech.
Is that Sam Donaldson? Forget it, you're a has-been.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. I think they misestimated the will and determination of the Commander-in-Chief, too. A year ago, my approval rating was in the 30s. My nominee for the Supreme Court had just withdrawn, and my vice president had shot someone.
I said to him the other day, George, if you really want to end tyranny in the world, you're going to have to stay up later. Here's our typical evening. 9 o'clock. Mr. Excitement here is sound asleep. And I'm watching Desperate Housewives.
Have they seen him dance?
Well,
because they might want to rethink.
That's not good.
There's some moves right there,
Maybe
boys.
he'll play with the band.
He cracks me up when he's dancing, and he's done it so many times in public. He obviously trying to fit in.
You can't make it up.
Oh, come on, come on. It was a simpler time, eh?
I was hoping to see the clip where he called Kim Jong-il Kim Jong II.
Or where he's on the morning on 9/11 with a book upside down reading to the school kids.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yes.
We could have a whole other show about, all those things and the people that were in his cabinet at that time. And
how so many of them are still lurking about the swamp right now. You know? They're still those same people. Yep.
If you want seriously strong conspiracy show, then we need to look at every person who's been elected president and why they were.
And the fact they're all, apart from two of them, related to old King John.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. So this is very deep, and this would be worthy of a show.
Look at Bush, Bill. Who did Bush run against? Who did he have the kind of close tie with? Was it
his
not
cousin?
Thank you, a fellow bonesman,
John
right?
Kerry. Yeah. Now let's take it a step further. We'll get to this prayer list because it's getting late. Rumor has it, and we've talked about this before, that the grandfather of George W. Bush is none other than Aleister Crowley. That Barbara, his mother, actually would it have been his I guess it would have been his grandfather. Barbara Bush, his mother, had a problem with her husband. I can't think of his first name. Pierce was the last name. So her name was Pierce, Barbara Bush's mother. She goes over and supposedly has a fling with the most wicked man in the world, Aleister Crowley, producing a child, which was Barbara Bush. Now look at the side by side there. And I find it interesting that during Bush's presidency, he invites Ozzy Osbourne to the White House, and they're having this luncheon or something, and Ozzy Osbourne is there, and Bush says to him, Ozzy, Mom loves your music, especially Mr. Crowley. Now, that's what he said in the little presentation thing there. And so that further fuels the speculation that Barbara Bush is indeed the daughter of Aleister Crowley.
Well, I'll say she is a very handsome woman. That's about all I can say.
I'll say
Excuse me,
this. She
ma'am.
bears a striking resemblance to him. And when you see the side-by-sides there, I mean, boy, if you take the hair off of her,
don't do that.
There's something rather intimidating about a bald woman.
Don't take anything away from her. Just, put some makeup on Aleister and maybe a wig. I mean, because that man.
See now, before we go away today, right? I've got one more thing I want to show you guys before we leave. Before Bill does the prayer list. But I can imagine everyone out there can put themselves in a time and space right now where you've been stuck. You've been trying to text home and your emoji you've been looking for just isn't there. We've all been there, right? Nothing quite says I love you like the pregnant man emoji.
Oh my goodness.
I had to do it.
Who came up with that?
Well, I just read before we came on the show, I didn't read the story, but it was a little blurb that said, I guess this is Generation Z, that they're calling God a racist now because God is a racist and he's terrible because he only chose women to be pregnant and it's time for men to be pregnant.
Are they going to cancel God?
No, it's not. I don't want to get
it's not.
Are they going to try and cancel God next? Is that going to be the ultimate cancel culture?
I guess that's what their plan is that they will cancel God now because God is terrible because only women can get pregnant. But they're working on it. Don't worry, they're working on it. And perhaps I certainly hope and pray I don't see it in my lifetime, I'll tell you.
There was a movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it where he got pregnant. What was that movie?
Twins? No.
Oh, no. Oh,
that was him and Danny DeVito.
There was a movie where Schwarzenegger became pregnant and had to deliver.
Oh, I don't remember the name of it. I know what you're talking about, though.
I haven't a clue.
You could probably Google it. My daughter's got my phone right now.
Happy birthday, Leah!
Hey.
Well, that's one of the proposed new emojis that's coming our way, guys. I just thought that's another indicator of where in the world we are right now.
We will have to do a show, maybe next week we'll cover the bases because we don't have a guest next week either. So maybe we'll
keep it
cover
that way,
some bases on that. Get into an interesting dialogue about that. And then again, maybe discuss further about the possibility of Barbara Bush being the daughter of the most wicked man in the history of the earth.
And the bloodlines, will we do the
bloodlines of the Illuminati?
Yes, and the flat earth too, because I know
Derek
Travis
likes that. Look, Derek likes that. Derek wants that sound machine. He's like, I want it.
At first, I thought you were manipulating your voice. That's a fact.
Moonbase 1, Colin,
Strowman. You want to talk Hollow Earth theory? I will go there all day long.
Hollow Earth. I'm into Hollow Earth, not the horizontal plane thing.
So I was thinking about bringing a very special guest on to, have maybe a dialogue with and somebody that's a real fan of the show and a fan of mine and bring them on and have a dialogue.
About what, Bill? About what?
About the flat Earth.
Oh, no, man. I can't do it.
No, I'm just kidding, guys. We're not going to go there. But
it's that. You see, when I was in the army and things, and I've had flat earthers challenge me before. They say that I was duped. I wasn't actually communicating with satellites. I was communicating with balloons. They contest the fact that when you're a soldier, you have to take into account the curvature of the Earth. If you're doing some long-range sniping, it's like one of those things. That's all fake as well. It's a game you can't win, Bill.
I have said that I don't know. I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not an astronomer. I don't know. Is it possible? Again, biblically, that's what it talks about, a firmament. Is there a dome over top of a firmament? I don't know. This is beyond me. So I wouldn't even engage in something that I haven't a clue about. So that's all I could say about it. Is I truly don't know. I don't pretend to know. But what you're saying there, it makes sense to me that you're adjusting for the conditions.
When this came up, my first thought really would be, well, Key Bono, who really benefits? Why? Why do we need the shape of the playing field hidden from us? What does that hide it? And then I thought, well, even if I was to find out tomorrow it was flat, or I find out next week it's hexagonal, When I wake up in the morning and I open the curtains and things, how much does my life truly change? Not much, because the garden's still the same, my bills are still the same shape.
Right, it has
I'm
nothing to do
with
our existence. It's beyond my comprehension. I don't know. Is it, again, for all I know, could be a big dome over top of a firmament where the whole thing, the whole roof or whatever is like a door and goes up or I don't know. And it's not for me to know. And so it's beyond my understanding. And you hit the nail on the head, Kev. It doesn't change life no matter what. You know, if it is round or if it is a firmament, it doesn't change anything.
That's the way I see it. But again, if you guys want to go down the flat earth road, I will win.
No, I really don't. I mean, again, I think I've stated all I could state on it because there's nowhere to really go. It's all speculation. I can't, as far as trying to prove that it is a firmament and it's flat. And I know the biblical narrative says that, but
and I've watched umpteen debates. It's something where you cannot tell the other side. They just won't accept it. And it keeps going on, it keeps going back and forth, and it's like a circular kind of going nowhere.
It's not productive. It's counterproductive.
Wait. Did you just say there was a circular argument about a flat earth?
Yeah, no.
The ironic thing, Travis, is that you'll find flat earthers all around the globe.
I know, right?
That one triggers them.
Everybody's entitled to their beliefs and opinions, and if they see it that way, well, then that's fine. I have no problem with that. I just can't give a real opinion on it because I can't talk about something that I don't know about.
Exactly. Well, you think of the hours of radio that's been done, Travis. I mean, there's nothing we can offer to this topic that hasn't been debated before.
But if Bill would just go up with Elon or Richard Branson and just fly and in that, in the lower atmosphere, you could see we live on a globe. It's a round.
And if he did, they would say it's fake. You can't win. See?
No,
Derek, we need to let Derek go. Derek has got family time
with Leah. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
I'd like to see that car, going around like Elon Musk put up there. How that car is rotating around everywhere.
It will come back eventually. A long time though.
The movie you were talking about, it was called Junior.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody. Well, that was the chat room. Somebody in the chat room posted that. So.
Isn't that even like? I mean, Bill, not to take away from the work you do, but I find the thought of even worse than demonic beasties and creepies and Aleister Crowley's ghost and everything. The thought of being pregnant terrifies me. Like I can face all the demonic hordes in the world.
Doesn't want to go there.
Yeah, but it's not for guys. Women, I take my hat off to you. That's why I cherish you. It's what you do. It's why you are miraculous, amazing individuals. And I think it's kind of, I actually think it's quite disturbing that there would be people out there who actually want to kind of take away from that magic, that female side of things.
It's a miracle from God. It's
worse than stolen valor. You hear about these people that pretend they were in the military and you find out they were lying. I mean, this is worse than stolen valor, right? Men pretending they can be pregnant.
Yeah. It's just the whole acceptance thing. And so what's happening is because of all the acceptance and all the trying to push what natural history was all about, now it's like everybody trying to understand, or what they're trying to do is try to reinvent the whole ideal of what we're here to do.
Correct.
Because that's happened now. Now it's like, shouldn't that mean that if we're allowing this, then maybe we should be thinking about these things now? That's what they're doing. And then it's like, everybody's like, yeah, well, now men should be able to get pregnant too, and this and that. It's just everybody just trying to
the suffragettes didn't put their lives on the line, Derek, so that men could say they were pregnant. Feminism's gone. I mean, what does it mean? Come on, this is like crazy.
That's all I'm saying. That's what's happening. So of course, oh yeah, and then women will be like, yeah, let them get pregnant. Let them see what we go through. There's no ends to it. There is
no end to it, because once the door opens, everything, it just kicks it in and everything flows in behind it. And unfortunately, that's where we are as a society now. And so in this rebellion against God, you're going to have these people, just like I read that little blurb, you're going to have these people now criticizing God, turning away from God because, only a woman can have a baby and men want to have babies. And it's just preposterous.
Okay. I don't know any man who wants to have a baby. I don't know any man that wants to have a baby. I'm just saying that.
I know some men that want to dress up as women, though. So, like, I mean, if you want to dress up as a woman, then, I mean, how far will you go?
Man, I feel like a woman.
I am not committed to a role. I'm just going to tell you right now.
Sheriff, stop. If you're about to confess to something that's going to destroy my manly image of you, stop.
I'm not going to mention no names.
Maybe we could get what's his name on the show there and get his side of it, or he wants to be called her, but whatever. He used to be the Olympic hero in 1976. He was the greatest athlete going, and now he's
still the highest net worth of any Olympian ever.
I believe it. I don't doubt it.
Oh, you guys 100%. Are so judgy.
He was on the box of Wheaties.
No, I know. No, but here's the thing. If that's the argument that people want to make, that God is sexist and racist, it's actually not true. It really isn't, because even the Apostle Paul, who I am not a huge fan of, because Paul, I think, really did corrupt Christianity and make it religion. I think he brought in Judaism and a lot of ritual. But even Paul said that with God, there is neither male nor female, Jew or Gentile, bond or free. So if you think about that statement, what Paul said was that in God's eyes, there is neither gender, nor is there socioeconomic status, nor is there ethnicity or race. So those things, racism, gender identity, these are all things that we have created, not from God.
What do they do again? What do they do? They divide.
It divides. We've done that. Right. We've done that to ourselves. I think that we really need to reevaluate the way that we look. I am all about inclusion. I really am. I love everybody.
Sure.
I don't judge. I don't care. If you want to sleep with a man, you want to sleep with a woman, I don't care. That's not my issue. I have no qualms about that. But we have to get to the point where that we actually, as a society, like who we are, and we don't right now.
It's just, everybody's got a cause, everybody's got a gripe, everybody's got a beef, and everybody wants to cancel this or that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are a soul culture.
Derek has to go. Derek.
Yeah, well, I wanted to hang in there as long as I could. I mean, this has been an incredible show. I mean, the viewers, I mean, they just kept going up as the show went on. I'm just like, geez.
And we thank all of you, and whether you agreed with some of the things that were being said or not, we truly appreciate you being with us and for being a part of this show. We greatly appreciate you, and we thank you.
Yeah, and all I wanted to say, I'll do my closing. I'll let you guys carry on. It is my daughter's birthday, so I should spend a few more minutes with her. She is in here with me right now.
We see her. She's providing the entertainment in the background.
Yeah, you guys can see her right now dancing back there? Oh, my goodness, I didn't know.
You're the featured performer here, Leah.
Look at it.
You're the artist known as Leah.
Go. You've got better things to be doing, man. Go.
She's the best. But real quick, I want to plug our show tomorrow, Paramedia Activity. That's the Speak Your Mind extension with myself, Travis Short. We brought in Tim Ladard, and guess who else wants to be a part of the show? He's going to premiere tomorrow. That's Todd Smith from up in Wellsville, New York. So we're looking forward to having him on. That show starts same time as Warrior Mode, except on a Monday. So you guys can tune in. That's simulcast to Facebook and YouTube. Mr. Kev Baker looks out for us there. He chimes in and, he adds his entertainment. Kev, you're funny on the show. We love you when you come in, bro. So please don't stop doing that. And I know it's late, just as well as it is right now.
It's going on 3 a.m. for him right now over there.
Well, he goes pretty hard, man. He's pretty, he's hardcore. I don't know what the heck he does to stay up. What'd you say, Travis?
He's hardcore. Kev is hardcore.
Listen, when you're a watchman, I tell you, it's 24/7. You're on the wall. You're keeping an eye out.
Yeah, but again, I won't keep you guys. I want to give another big shout out to everybody that watched the show, the chat room. Hey, appreciate you guys. Thanks for voicing your opinions. We are fine with that. We're going to continue to be who we are. We expect you to be who you are. But remember to walk in faith, strength, and courage. That is the Warrior Mode motto, and that's what we do on a daily basis. Love you guys. Have a great evening. Have a great week. And I will see the lot of you, Bill, Kev, and Travis, next Sunday for Warrior Mode.
Yes,
awesome, dude. Awesome.
We love you, brother. Have a great evening, and happy birthday again to Leah.
Happy birthday, Leah! Yay! See you guys.
Later, Derek. Later.
Man.
There we go. That was very good. So, Bill will be. I'll get Bill's camera sorted in a second, folks. Give me 2 secs. But Bill, I suppose it really would be time for the prayer list right about now. What do you think?
I'll say, and I'll get through this quickly as possible so you can get some rest.
Now, if I come over here, we'll get your camera fixed, and then we'll be good to go. There we go. There we go, brother.
All right, well, we're going to start the prayer list off with you as usual. And we certainly hope that you've had a good week and a good day and night.
Yep.
And,
tonight, last week, Travis had to step up to the plate. He helped me out immensely. Big thank you to Travis for that. But no, this week's been good. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, brother. Yep.
Well, we praise God for it. We're going to continue to pray for your complete healing of your lungs. And we'll continue to pray, and we trust in God that he will provide you with this complete and total healing miracle.
Thank you.
Melinda is making great strides. She's doing very, very well. So God is blessing her and helping her. We praise him for it. I want to pray for my cousin Ray and cousin Jim as well. We pray for Jay and Sylvia and Anita Johnson, Mr. and Mrs. Hart, Bob and Jen. They're both greatly improving. Praise God. My cousin John and his wife Bev, Harvey, John and Inga and Mike, Dave Coleman and his family, Walt and Pam Lohman, John and Dee Bosley, Pastor Jonathan Cobb and his family, Pastor Jason Morlock, his wife Victoria and their children, Tim Diaz and his family, Tim and Bridget and their children, Steve and Jen Hodgson. I pray that Steve is improving with his heart condition. Ben and Jade, Raylan Clark, Rachel Gecko, Kim Mailer, Heather Sanchez, Allison Lackey, Ricky Richardson, Janine Dorsey, John Downs, Debbie and their children, Amanda and Farah, Lene Devon and their family, Velma Matthias and her son James Waltrip, Tim Shaw. We'll continue to pray for Rachel. Travis, we pray that she's continuing to do well.
Yes.
Fantastic. Lisa Marie Kennedy, Peter and Donna, Frank Hutchinson, Doris, Linda Blackman, Tina Marie, who is making great improvements. Praise God. Polly Brewster, Alice Buck and her family, her dad Thomas Johnson, Margie Rayner, Valentina and Matt and their family, Celeste Hogan, Dream Dawn and their family, Serenity Moore, good buddy Joe Moyer was battling cancer and has recently passed, and we pray for Joe and his family We pray that God will bless them with peace and comfort and healing and help them to move forward. Deborah Walker, Terry and Taylor Kay, Deborah Denise and her family, her sister Cynthia, Ken Fields, the Bergstrom family and the Nuno family, both from the Chicago area. Love them dearly. And the Nuno family, Shannon, we continue to pray for her miraculous healing. Steve Wolf, who's battling cancer in Baltimore, my good buddy, and his wife Ricky and their family. Kathy Smith and her family, specifically her husband Ron, who's recovered from that car accident, and her brother Ron, who continues to have serious health issues. We certainly pray for Kathy and her family. Mr. and Mrs. Virgil Chick, Josh and Kara, Linda Byer, David Shar, Kathy and her family, Regina and her family, Scott and Johnny Johnson, David and Rachel and their children, and Rachel's mother, Pearl Morrison, our good buddy Frank, who is now living in North Carolina, and Cheryl and her family, Dr. Rudolph Garza and Mary, Roxanne Powers, and congratulations to Roxanne on her move. She's moving to a great new home, praise God. She was praying for it, and God answered her prayers. Jim Marinos, my good buddy and good friend Bart Carlucci, and Todd Smith, Mason Smith and Trevor Essman, Jerry Schwartz and his family, Joyce Tomlinson, and Tim and Gloria Whittington Saloki, Travis and Debbie Garver, Bruce and Mary Collier, Sue Beckner and her family, James Woodward and his parents Mike and Sandy, Andy Woodward, Fred Perigo and Gail Haney, Rhonda Brown, Rhonda Smith, Jan Woodward and her family, cousin Julie and her friend Julie in Belgium, Casey Kern and family, Mario Mithril, Michael Ann Peace, Helen Carr, Kim Stein, Alyssa Coliano, Dolores Spina, our good friends Joe and Mercedes Benedict. They are doing very well, praise God. May they continue to move forward. Anthony and Dina Holmes, Sean Jason Medley and his family, Kimberly and Brianna Othman, Rudy and Louise Salendenon and their family, Summer Eastwood, Kevin Corum, Karen Matz, Randy Cooksey and his family, Dana Valentine, Heather Smith, Tanya McCullough and her family, Tom Walker DeJarlis and Kelsey Lavalley, Robert D. Bartolomo, Sandy Pace, Brad and Grace Shull, Deb Hoffman, Carolyn Spencer, Terry Todd, Anna and their family, Jim and Anita Harlow, Jim Drysdale, Frank Smith and his family, Tina Foster, Mark and Lori Vault, Chris Weddle, Sherry Webb, Ingrid and her family, Patricia Jackson, Patricia Joyce and her family, Amber and Kirsten Kingsley, Les Brennan, Mark and Paula Enstein, Paula Gillen and her children, Kathy Higgins, Dana Emanuel, Mary Dowling, Jim Kelly and his mom, Greta Kelly, and cousin Susan Kelly, Ginger Gutierrez, Jose Velez, Linda Velez, Cheryl Velez, Luz Maria, Charles Nelson, Renilda Velez, Linda Combs. And we pray that Jim Kelly and his mom and family are also recovering from the loss of their cousin, Susan, and we certainly continue to pray for their healing. Linda Combs, Gary Blyer, Matt and Carrie McBride and their children, Tom Martin, Melody Braun Merson, Cheryl Rundles and family, Christopher Lang, Danielle Keeler, Darlene Gatton, Randall Napier, Linda Boak, Chase Williams, Jordan Bell Shields, Otis and Valerie Shields, Deborah Byer, Lydia and her family, Janet Valentine, Mary Strickland, Henry and Casey in East Tennessee, Joseph Sicanti, Kenny and Angie, Geraldine Mitchell, Ann Perez, Danielle Keeler, Katie Smith, Rose Smith, Anna Lee Smith, Cassie Smith, Lacey Adams, Chris Shee, Chester Holland, Chester Ray Holland, Vernie Holland, Stephanie Baker, Michael Baker, Darlene Baker, Helen Baker, Whitney Best, Lisa Best, Roy and Elva Johnson, Alex Mosley, Linda Combs, Brock Duncan, Sandy Mullins, Crystal Roberts, Diane Riley, Derek Federici and family, Brian Foy and 6-year-old Noah Foy and Ethan Lugo, Ben Morales and family, Mary Bess, Harriana, Brian, Carmen, Elizabeth, and their children. Pastor Ramon Creech and his family in Hazard, Kentucky. Nancy Griffith, Tyler Griffith, Linda Napier, Hub Bowling, Mr. and Mrs. Jean Hill, Doris, Russell, Paul, Jonathan Johnson, Ed and Gail Cover, Joyce Baldessare, Rita Starlett family, Deb Hoffman, Louisa Winston, Nia Geiler, B. Ainsbriston and family, Heather Lucas and Joshua Jura, Carolyn Byrne, Tina Smith, Carrie Ann, Thaddeus Eisner, Monica Anton and family, Helen Baker, Rose Baker, Donna Wood, Jenny Arrowwood, Houston, Ben Gentry, Dennis Hunt, Christine Gonzalez, Maria Hagar Gonzalez, Demetrius Harold, Donna Dormany Wood, Rose Pressey, Bobby Owens, Danny Wayne and Barb Holland, Savannah Holland, Janet Banks, Billy Owens, Jennifer Owens, Mike and Angie Begley, Elmer Gabbard, Shirley Begley, Kevin, Kimberly, Kelly, Brandy, and Cody Cockrell, Vernon Begley, Vicky Parker and her son Bradley Eversole, Larry Begley, Mavis Sellers, Bill Mosley, Donnie Mosley, Thelma, Rachel Mosley, Wanda Hamlin Johnson, Morgan Johnson, Savannah Baker, Prentice Begley, Randall Napier Sr., Diana Napier, Richard Everidge, Harold Smith, Bill, Charlie Miller, Pastor Buddy Turner, Rose Smith, Maggie Bowling, Margie Van Pelt and her family, Alicia Akers, Libby Smith and family, Jason Morris, Tony Walker, Angela Horton, Tim and Rhea Jean Roxbury, Lisa Marie Knox, Joanne Gale, Carmine Buddha Ficoli, Melvin and Crystal Gross, Pastor Doug White, Karen Lowry, Chandria Gibbons, Junior Arabello and his family, Francis Ozzie, Don Geary, Paul Nevitt, Elizabeth Hankins, Lorna Thompson, Sylvia Cortez, Lisa List, Julius, Sharon Barefoot, Dan Kulik and his family, Lauren Miori, Holly Martinson, Jamie Contreras and his family, Dave Longacre, Robin, Edgar, Anthony and Celeste Ortega and their children, Paul Pades, Mike Jeremiah, Michelle Ellers and family, Caleb Ellers, Mary Lynch, Sven Lesser, Bob Barber, Kathy Falk, Carol Arnold, Dave Giuliano, Carrie Fitzpatrick, Wendy Douglas, her son and her sister specifically, 3-year-old Bella, who has lymphoma, Dolores Casanova in Nicaragua, Bill and Barbara Sabino, Bill is battling cancer, Annette Clark, Richard and Lynn Donahue, B.J. Begley, Michael Dwayne Begley, retired clergyman Ronald Fail Enright, Pastor Chris Fugate, Gospel Light Baptist Church in Hazard, Kentucky, Sherry Smith, James and Stella Coldiron, Robin Cullen, Mamie Hauser Scragg, Julie Zaffis Marin, Nancy Griffith, Michael Hendis, Carolyn Gruss, Teresa West, Lachelle Scott, Pastor Doug Testerman, baby Priscilla Zagawa. She is making remarkable progress, praise God. Mary Herbert Cox, Bridget Servey, Daniel, Kathy S. in Virginia, Joshua in Ontario, Canada, John Jaden Tyler and David Duncan, Teresa Sanderson, Avery in Tennessee, Joe in Arkansas, Richard Allen Bennett, the Idler family, Kim in Washington State, Terry Reichenthal, who's battling cancer, Louis Ta, Anne Marie, Mary Prince, Michael Wendis, Lawana Ford, Richard and Lynn Donahue, Ken and Dawn Short. Ken had open heart surgery. Leanne, who had liver transplant. Steve and his son, Little Steve. Bill Danford, Nina Johnson, Bruce and Aaron Jordan, Smiley Akers, Johnny Jones, Laura Jones, Irene Tibbetts, Roe in New York and her family, Chris Madeline and baby Layla, Erica, who's suffering with 3rd-degree burns, Vincent Richardson and family, Alicia Prakash, and let us pray for Germany and Europe and all those terrible floods that are taking place there. And also the terrible heat wave that continues in the northwest part of America. Just horrible. And lastly, we pray for Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer Terry Funk, who is suffering with a variety of serious medical issues. And thank all of you from the bottom of my heart that make your regular donations to my ministry. I truly appreciate it. Melinda, Sylvia, Amy Counts, Roxanne Powers, Ray Mossy. Ray, we're praying for South Africa. South Africa is in a lot of conflict right now. With like a civil war type of thing. Andrew O'Neill, Jim Kelly, Sandra Clark, Alice Marie Buck, Marcy Robbins, Roger Garza, Jan Woodward, Frank Bodek, Lonnie Hughes, Lisa Robbins, Mary Best, Johnny Cummings, Eddie Hughes, Velma Matthias, and all of you that have made donations to my ministry. I truly, truly appreciate it. And happy birthdays to Kev. Happy birthday, Kev. Hope you had a great one.
Thank you, brother. I did, yes. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Tracy Austin and Lauren DePinto and Roy Johnson, who has turned 70, and little 6-year-old Leah, Derek's little daughter there. And hope all of you had a wonderful birthday. And so now we'll go to our 7 declarations. Number 1, we praise God for this day. Number 2, we declare victory here and now. 3, we declare that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. 4, we declare that everything that we do and everything that we touch will be successful. 5, we declare perfect health in mind, body, and spirit. 6, we declare to be a blessing to others. 7, we declare, Father, that we have your favor and your blessing and your prosperity. And our 10 steps. Number 1 is making God first. 2nd is following the path and the teachings of Jesus Christ. 3, building our faith. 4, forgiveness. 5, finding your purpose in life. 6, using the power of positive thinking. 7, setting goals. 8, giving with a glad heart, giving to others with a glad heart. 9, being grateful for everything. And 10, walking in faith, strength, and courage, aka warrior mode. So now we are going to do our final blessing and prayer and cleansing for the week. And may this help you to start in this new week fresh, with a clean slate, and moving forward in warrior mode. So everybody take a deep breath in. Exhale. Now close your eyes, and I want you to visualize whatever it is that's troubling you, whatever it may be. Could be something from the past, childhood, could be something that's recently developed, whatever it is. And if it's something that you feel is bigger than this, a little cleansing session here, don't hesitate to contact me, BillJBean.com. You can email me directly from the site, and we will get back to you. Now, as you are focusing on this problem, I'm going to pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forevermore. Glory, hallelujah. Now, continue to focus on whatever this is. And Father, I thank you and praise you for this blessed and appointed time. And Father, I ask that you not only hear my prayer, but you honor it and take this from every person that's participating with me right now in this session. I ask that you send your giant warrior angels to them and take into custody any and every demon that might be in, on, or around them, and every curse, hex, vex, and spell, and anything, any demonic stronghold, legal right attachment, whatever it may be, anything and everything that the devil has built over them. And Father, again, I ask that you have your giant warrior angels take all of that into custody and carry it off and deposit it back into the pits of hell where it belongs. Furthermore, Father, by your mighty power and your mighty and holy name in Jesus' name, I bind and break the power over Satan and all of his demons, all of his fallen angels, all of his unclean spirits, all of his demonic powers and principalities, all of his demonic strongholds, all of his legal rights, all of his attachments, and all of his curses, hexes, vexes, and spells, and anything and everything that the devil has built over every person that is participating in this right now. By your mighty power, Father, in your mighty and holy name, in Jesus' name, I bind and rebuke it, and I cast it out and off and away from every person that is taking part in this right now. And I ask again that you have your giant warrior angels take every one of these demons that have been cast out off and away from these people into custody, and all the curses, hexes, vexes, and spells and negativity that's gone with it. May you have these angels take it into custody, carry it off, and deposit it back into the pits of hell where it belongs. And Father, I declare by your mighty power and your mighty and holy name, in Jesus' name, that every single person that has participated in this right now is now blessed, sealed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before you. Peace is upon them, and peace shall remain forevermore, in Jesus' name. I wish all of you a fantastic week. May you be blessed, and may you be a blessing. And we'll see you here next Sunday, same time, same channel, and we'll do it all over again. So, Kev, with that, take us out of here.
Absolutely, brother. Remember, folks, stay safe, stay sane. Faith, strength, and courage. Warrior mode. Check out Bill's website, BillJBean.com. We'll be back, same time, same place, next week. And don't forget, faith, strength, and courage. Warrior mode. Good night, and God bless.